Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you for sticking with us through that one. We are now one game deep officially into our third round robin. We have passed the halfway mark of these round robins, and boy, was it a match to remember. But now, moving forward, we have what I think is going to be the second most defining matchup, at least at the top of this round robin, because, of course, this is going to be Machi versus Fireball. Fireball, they need to win this or they risk bottoming out, and Machi, they need to win this or they lose their entire chance at actually contesting these top three teams. What a way to kick this off.
Much in the same way that the top three teams are all jostling for that first place in that tier, the middle three teams, that 4th, 5th, and 6th place, even for Fireball, are all kind of jostling to break out of that and make it into the top three. Fireball, 2 wins behind the other two, but any team that takes a win here can well set themselves on the path to make it up there.
Well, we may be able to get to see the lineups as we talk about these two teams as well to refresh those who are maybe joining us for the first time. But I suppose the big thing to note about this is Machi were one of the most defining teams of the last round robin as well, in that their big upsets against Flash Wolves and I believe they beat AHQ as well. No, they didn't, of course, because AHQ
Hong Kong
went
Attitude.
Yeah, it was Hong Kong Attitude. And then they actually had quite a good showing against AHQ as well. I think it did go to 5 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Machi?
Yeah.
No.
No? This guy, he knows.
No,
Machi did get shut out by a lot of
photographic.
No, Nez, in fact.
by the top 3 teams apart from Flash Wolves. Machi were reasonably shut out, but their other upset was technically Fireball, who in the first round robin were actually ahead of them in the standings as well.
Yeah, they certainly were. And the main thing is, I mean, that, like I said, that defined the trajectory of not just Machi, but also of Flash Wolves and also of Hong Kong Attitude as well. And now here they are, finishing that off tied with Hong Kong Attitude after what was a very rough first round robin. So as much as they have, it's not been a meteoric rise, they are still on the up. They don't want to plateau off just yet.
I also want to bring attention to the fact that this is a very quick rematch. We just saw these two teams face off yesterday.
Yeah, I was there. You were there.
Where were you when?
Where were you? Where were you when Machi played Fireball? And of course, that matchup went the way of Machi as well. That is why they're currently tied for 4th. So, had that not come through, they would currently be only 1 win ahead of Fireball.
However, if memory serves correct, Fireball didn't exactly just raise a white flag there either. It was a really good fight from Fireball. It was not a good, like, Fireball didn't take a map, but there were moments, and I believe Control was specifically where I believe Fireball had their best chance to get a map. I have no idea whose face that is, by the way.
What is going on here? It's his face.
It's his own face.
It's his own face on his face.
At this point, no idea what to expect when we go to Fireball's cams.
This team is something else. So I just want to.
I cannot predict what's going to happen.
I want to touch on that
when the camera moves.
Yeah. What is? No. Just hey. It's just Rocket. Hi. Oh. Hello.
Hi there.
Oh no.
Either.
He looked into my soul for a moment there, but he is.
I'm digging the glasses. Smite, you should get some of those.
Yeah.
No, I like these ones. They're pretty good. Help me see better.
Yeah, he can't see without them.
Now we're getting to dangerous territory now. I'm not confident about the rest of this.
It's you can already see him like just kicking back and relaxing. Like he can't. I heart you too, NZNR.
NZNR, the icicle magnet, as well. Both times.
Right.
Wow,
someone
you had to. That's rough, man.
What
Also
is Zaputo doing? He's like horizontal belly dancing.
He's chilling out. I mean,
this is look, just getting the wrist stretches.
Like I think Aputo, well, not
exercise.
just Aputo, but really for all of Fireball, they need to be quite ready, like to go up against Machi, because I think.
Oh, did you guys see that? Oh my God, this guy's a wizard. So I want to kind of bring attention to what you mentioned there, Avril, which is that these guys met just yesterday, and of course this one is going to be a little bit different because yesterday Fireball had the home side. Today it is Machi, which means I don't think we're going to Ilios.
No,
not
do,
unless
though?
Machi really want to.
What if they just like they want to establish dominance? Like.
What,
they're gonna go. They'll take you to Ilios, and they'll be like, "Yeah, what? That was your map. It's ours now. Thanks."
Here's the thing.
Like, give us your lunch money.
Technically, Machi won it, so I mean.
Yeah, they could do that. They would be taking Fireball's lunch money.
But it was super tight. I mean, they took it. Yeah. We went all the way to the 5th stage, and if you're Machi, I don't think you risk that again. I think the risk of it is too high because, by all respects, Fireball could have won that, and almost should have.
The thing that was strong about it, though, let's be fair, is it was Fireball's pick, and they came out looking good, and then over the course of the series, Machi adapted and figured it out, and they were just barely able to overcome Fireball, but you're right, they were able to overcome them. You almost wonder if they went there a second time, if it would be an even stronger win, you know, if they actually increased that gap further, because they started off a bit behind and then slowly pulled ahead of them. So you do wonder if that would maybe be how it would happen. Or maybe you just go somewhere where you don't have to worry about that at all, right? Where you are just already miles ahead and the onus is on Fireball to catch up, not on you to prove that you've got further.
I mean, that's a safe place to be, right?
Yeah. And when you want to win, safety is the way to go.
I think as Machi right now, one of the better options for them to go for is actually going to be Lijiang Tower, surprisingly enough, because
What? No.
No, but for a specific reason, not just because all the cool kids are doing it, but because in a
If all the cool kids jumped off a cliff on Nepal, would you do it?
Well, I don't think I'd have a choice with all the Lucios on the enemy teams, but look, going to Lijiang Tower means Control Center has to be played, and in a similar way in the HQ series against Blank, here we are, it is going to be Lijiang Tower. So going to this one, Control Center can actually be really strong for Machi because we know Fireball love playing that Winston composition. They're not
More like they have to.
Yeah, it's more like they have to.
They love it, but it's an arranged marriage, right? They're forced to love it.
yeah. So in a way, this is setting yourself up. If this goes all the way to 5 maps, it sets yourself up to very likely get 2 wins on the same map on Control Center, unless it's the one played in the middle where we only see it once. But at the same time, that's a pretty good bet, right? Where you can run into this with a triple tank composition and then force Fireball to awkwardly dive on you. And if you can establish dominance on the point first, it's very hard to break it as a dive composition.
Yeah, exactly. And to kind of speak to that as well, I mean, if we want to contextualize this in Fireball need to win this or they risk bottoming out, they are not far from losing all their shot at the playoffs, right? They have glaring problems. There was a point there where suddenly they picked this Winston thing and they had something that worked, and we were saying, this is runway. Now, this is runway for them to fix their problems and adapt. That hasn't happened, and now the clock is ticking. So, do we think actually they have now finally fixed problems? Do we really think that they still can do that? Or have they already lost their shot at it? Have they already failed to adapt?
Yeah, I think that the problem is, they hadn't figured out how to play the Reinhardt compositions properly, so they band-aid fixed it.
Where do I point the shield again?
They band-aid fixed it with the Winston. Now, even though they're playing Winston dive, I don't believe they've really perfected that. Not even perfected, but they haven't mastered it, right? Mastery is not necessarily perfection, but they haven't reached a level of mastery where they can comfortably win games using that dive composition. It just hasn't happened.
Also, if we're going to talk about improvement, if they can actually come back up against Machi, their matchup was yesterday. That's probably about 24 hours for them to improve. That's a
tight
big ask.
turnaround time. I mean, you can fit some scrims in there. You're completely right. But in any case, thank you very much for helping us set the scene. And now the curtains will open on Lijiang Tower. Machi, their rematch against Fireball to kick off this 3rd round robin. Both teams desperate for more wins here.
Night Market going to be the starting place as expected. Fireball, Apudo and Rocket playing the usual suspects, and I think Genji is definitely Apudo's pick.
It is. And very quick to try and get themselves on this point is Fireball, but they get absolutely routed as Machi read them like a book and collapse on in, and now Apudo is left running.
Yeah, Fireball, not a good start. I mean, it was really much getting... Both teams kind of played the point to start with, get right on the cap, but Machi established dominance early, got the early picks in there. Fireball were lucky to get out with the members they did, losing 3 early, saving 3. Not the end of the day, but they got to find an opening now in this next attack.
Yeah, and it's already a big ask. DCR1, they're getting aggressive on. That is actually a good way to open it. I feel like Machi maybe a little overextended as now they lose Kiyomi too. But the trade backs are there. They've actually traded specifically Winstons and Zenyatas. Apudo is still trying to do what he can, and Restia is actually keeping his team topped off much better than Zalf is. And now it's still Machi on the point, getting the reinforcements through. And Nona's down, but getting Ninth out of the mech is pretty significant. It's kind of tricky to call this one, to be honest, because the point is still being ticked up in favor of Machi, and even trades favor Machi because it's more time.
Absolutely, and eventually Fireball going to have to be forced to use ultimates. I wouldn't be surprised if a Dragon Blade came out of Apudo at roughly any moment. If they want to try and keep this alive, he will go down though. So again, Fireball committed a lot of time into that, got no result out of that, and I don't think they've really gotten the ultimates out of Machi either.
And it ended up going on for so long, right? Because neither team had anything conclusive. Both teams had plenty of respawns, and that ended up favoring Machi purely because it gave them more chances to crack Fireball's armor.
I think Fireball are definitely in position to actually commit some of these ultimates they've been saving up, particularly the Dragon Blade that Puto's been holding onto for some time now. He hasn't had too many deaths, but now he goes.
Yep, that's the signal for it. Picking Kiyomi, and Machi know they had to commit a sound barrier to keep themselves going, so Fireball commit theirs too, and already Fireball cracked it open. Now set up on the point. They have a few ultimates to help hold this one down as well. Machi are going to go ahead and commit this with DCR1's Primal Rage, but he's kind of alone on this point. The team didn't really follow him up on that one, so Fireball, they actually don't just get the cap, they then pull another ultimate out. Yeah. This is just feeding ultimates. I think Machi are just trying to run the clock here and get more time. I don't disagree, but they feed a lot of ultimate charge
and
to
they're
Fireball.
Continuing to do that. And to be honest, I think at the point for Machi, you've reached about 80-ish%. Even at 85%, you've got to be comfortable with that because it's enough of a lead that you can now pull your members back, re-attack, and you're still in a very good position to actually just get the win off that one victory. Anyway, the difference between 92% and 80%, I don't think warrants that amount of feeding players.
Oh man, Rocket nearly going down there. That was a little dicey. There they go, following up on it, and he gets punished for that aggressive positioning.
Sick.
The Transcendence to come out there, buy some time. Oh, that's a big one out of 9th, though. That will swing the fight straight into Fireball's favor once again. And Machi, good start, but they don't quite get the closeout as they all kind of piled onto that self-destruct. Now, right at the end here is going to be Kiyomi going down, and Fireball making great use of that extra ult charge Machi gave them in the fight before.
Yeah, and Fireball is still going to need a little bit extra if they want to sort of break the distance between 42 and 92% of Puto's Dragon Blade about to come up as well. It's going to be a bit of a Dragon Blade duel between him and Nonez, and I think Machi, they got a couple of options. Do they wait, try and draw on ultimates and go in, or what?
Yeah, Nonez is going to start it off, and there goes Aputo afterwards as well, but Nonez is the one doing the work. Aputo gets a couple of his own. It's even trades for now, but Aputo's so low, but Nonez is keeping the harass on. It's going to allow Machi to get onto this point. Kant as well, still ducking and weaving through this, and No Talk somehow not going down there. That is phenomenal. And now they actually had the opportunity to grab this point off Fireball and set themselves up on it with enough time to just close it out right here, right now.
There will be a little bit of a stall coming in for Fireball just to try and stop things out, but now we're going to
Oh, hold on a second. That is huge. Catching No Talk and Kiyomi both. They're going to commit the sound barrier to keep this one going as the self-destruct comes out of No Talk. But now it's going to be a much harder fought fight for Machi on this final defense here. Fireball actually looked kind of poised to take a cap back here. Aputo's still fairly unopposed as now he starts to harass around the backside of this fight. No Talk not going to be able to get back in the mech as Kant goes out as well, and the flankers are down for Machi. Nonez is but one man. And, well, nothing he can do there, and Fireball are going to get a cap back.
Yeah, well, it's kind of at the 11th hour as well. Puto really pulled one out and still got a Dragon Blade to pull an extra one out if he needs to. And he will definitely need it. 81% now for Fireball. Kind of got a Transcendence coming up alive as well for Machi.
They got the ults.
They do, because Machi, they're going to come into this one a little bit dry. I mean, they're nearly there, but
yeah,
we're going on to, this is going to be double overtime for sure.
Yeah, and Fireball are going to have to bite the pillow. So here we go. I think the big defining one is going to be this Transcendence, and when it comes out, it's a really early Transcendence out of Kiyomi just to try and get the team onto the point, force the overtime. It is working so far, but Curls with his own. Oh, but that's big for Aputo there as No Talk, as Kiyomi's Transcendence runs out. They just close it right out, shut the lid on that one, and Machi, they were playing well up until the moment they weren't, and just kind of handed that one back over to Fireball.
A lot of this does seem to be like, with a little bit of 9th sprinkled in, it has been Aputo versus Nonez, which Genji can get the greater value out of their trades and also out of their Dragon Blades. And we've seen these duels happen, and it's funny because they're not even really duels because they're not dueling each other. They're doing what they're doing to each other's teams. I know Nonez has come ahead of the pack a couple of times. Aputo has come out ahead a couple of times, but whenever one of these players comes out ahead of the other, that usually sets the stage for that team to then have control of the cap. And like I said, on top of that, 9th has been the X factor for Fireball to just secure it out at the end.
Certainly today he has. The thing with Fireball is normally they're just kind of the Aputo show, right? And most teams have figured out how to shut that down. I'm actually a little bit disappointed, in fact, that Machi don't seem to be doing that with much proficiency right now. They're still coming out on top, but they could be coming out even more on top, I feel. Now here they're coming out for the next map and already off to a good start. It's not quite shut down the Apudo, but it's a similar thing that they're going after Kurlos and Rocket. But the trades are actually coming back through for Fireball now. They actually aren't exactly winning this with dominance. Now Fireball are wheeling around to stay safe from known as Farah, as Apudo keeps the harass up, and Fireball should be able to get a cap out of this.
Unfortunately, Apudo's not going to get enough kills with harass, and if Apudo isn't getting kills, well, no one on Fireball really is getting kills, and that kind of is the Apudo show in a nutshell. And for Fireball, if they're not winning this ground battle, they don't have anti-air here, they have to dominate the ground.
Yeah.
If they can't do that, they're also not going to win in the air, which means Machi are going to roll over.
Yeah, never mind that. The Apudo show was cancelled halfway through the season for a moment there, and Fireball kind of made a mistake by stepping back out into open ground, having already got the point for themselves. They let themselves go right where Nonos could find them, and he just cleaned them up.
Well, it might have been cancelled briefly, but it's going to come back for a brand new season as we're going to show.
Picked up by another network.
We're going to show you Soldier 76 instead.
They've recast the lead character of the Apudo show now, so hopefully this next run does a little bit better. It's like Doctor Who, right?
Change the Doctor.
Yeah, this is the 11th Apudo, but here we go. See if he's going to work out. See if Peter Capaldi Apudo will do a little bit better this time around. And Nones is going to have to commit to this point, but he's got the Rocket Barrage to back it up as the Winston ultimate is there. Machi have lost a member, but that's the Justice reigning indoors.
It's a late Matrix.
Oh, that is a very good Matrix, though, to close it out. There's going to be a tempo race forced out by Kiyomi to keep Machi in this one. It should be enough to keep this in this, as Apudo is kind of stuck off to the side with the sound barrier, and now there's going to be no talk in his face to stop him from affecting this fight too much. But they're starting to fight back. They're keeping the patience. Oh, yeah, that was actually really big for it. They're going to open up now with this ultimate duo of Transcendence and Tactical Visor.
Ken, what was that?
Yeah,
you can't do that, Ken.
You can. You just can. But he goes a little bit too deep on it, and well punished there. Patient play out of Fireball eventually does pay off there.
And I think if you look at Apudo's positioning as well, he was held up in the white room in a bit of a choke. It was very difficult for Machi to actually efficiently engage him, and Apudo was landing the damage from long range. Helix rockets directly onto Nonos, snipes out Kant with the tag visor as well. No one could challenge Apudo. Now he's in the open ground. This is Machi's opportunity to get him.
Yeah, I much prefer Peter Capaldi to Matt Smith here for Apudo. So gonna see now if they can hold this one down. Kiyomi's still away from a res, but known as he's gonna force the Apudo show to get recast if they're not careful. But Fireball have kind of swung back, so that was just one good kill out of Machi. They're committing to this fight though with the sound barrier running. Not sure if this is the right call, because honestly Fireball is set up enough on the side, and Machi aren't in a good position to assault onto this point. And even if they do finally cap it after a long protracted fight here, Fireball are running down the clock. Machi can't exactly win off one big cap here.
They're going to need a lot more, and they're losing members very quickly. Fireball, this is kind of like night markets all over again. They're just sort of waiting for a bit of a comeback. They need to get that timer back in their favor. And for Machi, if this turns into a repeat, they're going to run out of resources again. This has to be their push. They've got a couple of ultimates. Fireball have a lot less. If Machi don't bring it back now, I think they're going to be behind.
Yeah. Fireball are always being given a window, is the thing. Machi the one's giving it to them. But this time around, they want to slam the window shut. This is going to be a slightly better Rocket Barrage, at least in terms of getting damage down. It kind of forces an awkward position for Fireball. No talk down, no res just yet for Kiyomi, but they get the cap through anyway, and they will get some respawns in, and now Machi are actually looking a little bit healthier than a moment ago.
Yeah, and Machi's managed to save the majority of the ults as well. Look how close the progress is. It keeps swinging. Sometimes Machi has it, then Fireball brings it back, then Machi gets it again. Now Fireball, if they get this push, we might be able to force the overtime. We're that close to closing out Gardens now with a lot of ultimates in hand as well. Where is Apudo? There he is.
I wanted to see some patience out of them, and they are actually patient enough to make it work. Once again, 9th and Apudo, this dream team. But yeah, the race to come out swings this one around because Fireball had already committed a lot of their ultimates. Now Machi have plenty in the back pocket for themselves. No sound barrier just yet. Oh, it's close. Restia needs to commit it. No, it does not quite. But they're getting the rest of the damage down off to the side here with Nones now going to commit to the point to try and close out on these last few members. Needs to not leave himself too exposed though. This is not Farah territory, and Kiyomi is equally exposed as he tries to keep Nones topped off. Fireball take advantage of the over-aggression from Machi, but they just barely make it pay off the last minute there. Machi at the very least drawing out the overtime. There's going to be the sound barrier. That was what they were waiting on, and with it, they do close it out on Fireball.
And that was really tight, especially right at the end. Tac Visor coming out from Apudo. If he just managed to get Kiyomi instead of Nones first, I think that would have gone over to Fireball because the triple res coming out through, and I said this, it was like there's still a res, and I'm watching all these ultimates being used by Fireball. They picked up 3, immediately 3 got res, and then Fireball went, well, we got nothing left to use.
I've got to point out as well there, 3 times Nunez decided, all right, I've got to go indoors now. I've got to commit to the fight on the point. And every single time he got punished for it. There is a right time to do that. It's later. It's a little bit later, fractionally later, when you need to go in to secure the fight. But he went in too early. He went in too early and was exposed and ended up having the opposite effect. Ended up giving Fireball the opportunity to close out the fight. So Nunez, a little undisciplined there, as much as Machi do get away with it. Now let's see how Control Center pans out for them.
Well, pans out poorly for Kurlos so far to start things.
Yeah, how many times will that happen?
It is a second in a row.
It's Kiyomi as well.
Last time it was a DCR1 though, so for Fireball, they got to choose it. They got to stick here, or they stick it or not. It looks like they want to retreat, but they should lose a couple members. Actually, Abuda gets one back.
I like that. I like that it was.
They're getting a lot back.
Yeah,
actually.
they get a lot back indeed. That was really well played by Apudo, actually. I was going to say, I quite like that it was actually Kiyomi who killed Kurlos, like the robot versus robot. Like, it's like, I don't know, Androidicide or something? Omnicicide? Omnicide.
Omnicide.
Because they're, is that already a thing, though? It sounds
Jeff
like it's already a
Kaplan,
thing.
listen up.
Jeff, please.
If you're tuning in, Jeff, we've chucked that one in the dictionary. Either way, it is.
We're just giving you a new word. You're welcome.
So getting back to the game though, Fireball are actually ahead. I think usually it has been Machi ahead first. The Fireball being ahead, I want to be able to see how they can leverage this early lead, and you know, can go down to Kurlos.
Yeah, they're both going to commit to this fight, but Apudo with this Dragon Blade is just going to close it out before Machi really got a big opportunity. They got a pick early on NZ and R and went, all right, yeah, we can do this. And then Kant got picked out, and they're like, okay, we're too deep now, we've got to commit anyway. And Apudo went, none of that nonsense, and they hold on, get more time on the clock.
And this is definitely the biggest lead Fireball have had, all Lijiang Towers, and they got the ultimates to boot as well. Machi, we haven't really seen them on this kind of back foot before. They got a little bit of time before the ultimates. I think they might want to hold off just a tad, just to get a couple of these ults in play, and then be able to actually commit something.
And they are biding their time. I will give them credit where it's due. Kiyomi needs to not go down here. No, that is disastrous. Good dive by Rocket and the sound barrier to keep them safe so that Rocket goes unpunished for just enough time for them to ult and for them to start closing out the rest of the match. Now as No Talk goes down, Restia hunted down as well, and Kanta's only one lonely Tracer has to back off. That was very well executed by Fireball.
And Fireball definitely running with this lead, 77% Machi. Yeah, they held on to ults again. They have no option to do that anymore. I think the kill onto Kiyomi from Fireball is absolutely timed so well. Got him a 99% ult charge, prevented the Transcendence. Machi said, okay, well, we're not going to commit to this fight. They also didn't fall out themselves, which is interesting because they kind of fed a few ults back to Fireball. This has to be 100% commit.
Yeah, well, Machi already getting onto the point, going to force Fireball's hand, but that's a good self-destruct out from 9th. Forces out the Transcendence, Pulse Bomb goes wide, and suddenly Machi looking a little leaner in the toolbox now. As they got it, yeah, they're trying to pull out more. Apudo goes with the Dragon Blade. That's a great one for them, and yeah, shut down indeed. Nunez cannot get anything with his own blade, and now No Talk shut out of the mech. DCR1 is the only one using his ultimate still, and he is not a carry. That is not a team wipe kind of ultimate. He's going to get forced off this one, and Kiyomi floats for dear life towards the point, but Fireball, that looked clean.
And it was very much a case of both teams used their Transcendence roughly around the same time. I want to say Kiyomi used his first, he absolutely did, and Kurlos responded a little bit after that, but as soon as Kiyomi's ended Apudo, he drew the Dragon Blade. Nunez, he was still waiting, he was biding his time, he was finding the right moment. The right moment came, Apudo was immediately in his face, shut him down, and won that team fight. Winning that team fight gave Fireball the victory on Control Center. That one play, a little bit of hesitation from Nunez, and Apudo being at the right place at the right time secures it.
I will say though, this isn't just the Apudo show. I mean, normally it is, but if it was just the Apudo show, I think Machi would still be winning it. 9th and Rocket both are playing this phenomenally. They are allowing this entire comp to be executed. They are really opening up the victory here. Now, Machi coming out of the gate with the exact same thing that lost them Gardens the first time around. We have to see if they change things up because they are on the cusp of dropping this map.
I think Fireball, yeah, it's interesting. They're not going to start with the Soldier here. They're going to stay on the Genji and see if it works out. But if you're going to play the Genji, you've got to either focus on winning this ground duel or try and snipe out Nonez early. And so far, getting the mech out of No Talk does say
it's something.
Fireball may be getting this ground victory.
Yeah, they actually are, because getting No Talk all together now means very little protection for the rest of the ground squad as DCL1 immediately get drops. Now, yeah, the healer's wide open. It means they go for rest here. Kant, he can only duck around the fight. He's not going to be sat on it. So being able to pick off No Talk and stay safe on this point really won them that fight.
And the other thing is Fireball immediately forced Machi to contest him on the cap itself, where, by the way, Nonez doesn't necessarily want to fight. You don't want to go indoors so early. You mentioned this already. There is a time and a place to go indoors, and the place is definitely indoors.
Yeah, Professor Oak knows all about it.
But the timing is not in the middle of a 6v6. Your room to actually be able to maneuver in is so limited.
And Fireball, I mean, if they made a few mistakes with that last time, they haven't made any mistakes with it yet this time. They're going to force Nonez into this awkward bot every single time as double sound barriers out. Kant winning a gentleman's deal off to the side. The res is there for now Kiyomi if he wants to commit it, but they want to get a few more kills first. Aputo nearly down. They need to close out on him. He's still alive just for a moment. Yeah, Kant finally gets it with that melee. But Fireball have got enough mileage out of not dying there. That's going to be the ultimate commitment for Nonez, and now he's figured out the right time to commit to the point so that you can close out the fights. And Machi not going to make the same mistakes as last time. They do get the cap through for Fireball.
But once again, Fireball have a really great lead. They had an insanely good lead on Control Center, which they extended all the way to a victory. This time it's not going to go all the way, but still with enough of a lead coming with a bunch of ultimates as well. If they can play around the Resurrect, which they didn't before, they should be able to get the cap back, and then after one more team fight after that, they can actually close out the game.
Yeah, this Pharaoh is going to have a hard time impacting things here, though, because Fireball have got the right kind of comp to play to the point as they commit to it again. You'll see it in action because No Talk already out of the mech is exactly how they do it. And like I said, committing to the point, absolutely destroying Machi on the ground game. Yeah, they have not played around the raise, but it doesn't quite get enough mileage anyway because Fireball had held on to the ultimates for it as the Transcendence was used. And this is all closeout now for Fireball. Kiyomi, I mean, well timed if you're wanting to play at the game, but poorly timed in terms of getting the ultimates out first. Too many members of Machi died at the wrong time, and they lose the point again.
And Machi didn't have control of the point long enough to actually put themselves in the lead as well. So they're not able to, they haven't bought enough time for themselves. They bought a little bit of time to work with, but now Fireball, like I said, if Fireball can pick up one more team fight win here, they have the real possibility of closing out this game because we are going to go for the overtime after that.
All right, eyes on Aputo now as he comes around to the side. That is a great self-destruct to open it out because No Talk was one of the few ultimates Machi could have used. And now going hacking and slashing. Aputo finds nothing, unfortunately. Maybe they should recast him again, or maybe they should give him a bit of a chance this time around.
Take your rockets back. I want a refund on these.
Yeah, return to sender.
Oh boy, Machi. No resurrection this time around. Got a rocket barrage. But like,
anyway.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that's a good one. They do get Kurlos. That's quite a nice one for them. But Nonez, this is unfortunate territory for him. Taking out the defense matrix, though, is really, really big because they actually give him free reign in a place that should be Farah's weak spot. Fireball, what happened there? They kind of gave that one away.
I think this is the second time that for Ninth, unfortunately, he didn't hold the matrix to... He didn't have the matrix out early enough to actually get Nonez down. One player already went down before he sort of got in there with the matrix. And in terms of response time, I mean, twice in a row now he hasn't responded.
I think
just quickly enough.
Maybe they kind of got mind gamed out there. I almost think Ninth was maybe holding on to it going, there's no way Nonez would commit now. It's a 6 versus 6. He'll come in later on. Then I can point my defense matrix at him, but no such luck. Maybe it was mind games there. In any case, it pays off for Nonez, and now Machi holding on to the Raze are in a decent spot defensively. DCL1 is going to pop an ult here if he's not careful. Yeah, Raze, like I said, available. DCL1 actually goes down without using the ultimate, but that means that they can get a few more picks, then the rest can come through, then they get more mileage out of it, and now they're going to commit to it, but they lose Risk here and No Talk a little bit too early. Did not quite wait out the Dragon Blade, and Machi are in a tight spot here. Nonez going to try carry. That's a big one off to the side. He gets 2, he gets 3, and they turn it back around at the last moment there, right when it looked like the Aputo show was going to get all the Nielsen ratings. Machi have managed to claw their way back into even up the series 2 for 2.
Oh, they should be able to clean this one out, and if that's the case, I mean, Aputo's going to have to wait for his Emmy Award because Nonez he got the rocket barrage so quickly. I mean, the guy just got...
Hold on. second here. Ninth gets one with the self-destruct and Kant takes a dive. And now Kiyomi's down. Never you mind that. They get a, I don't know, this is a Christmas special out of the Apudo show. It's operating outside of the seasons. And it's a really well-written one as well. They are absolutely turning this one around at the last minute. Kurlos out with the Transcendence. And it could still be Fireball's game if they can close out a few more. Machi aren't going to give it up easy. They picked Restia. Oh, what else can they get? Because they have lost the titular character, killed him off. But will he get brought back to life in a shock Shyamalan-esque twist? Machi back onto the point, but there's so few members, even as they get Rocket. Ah, what is this fight?
This has been so long. It's been flipped over as well. It's been Machi's territory. It's been Fireball's territory. Apudo's about to get back into a Dragon Blade again.
This is a murder mystery, man. But the twists are coming too fast to keep track of them all. Like they resurrected Agatha Christie to write this one. Yeah, Apudo, the show is back on. And at the last minute, the main character comes back to life to close it out. And it turns out the butler did it as Fireball sat pretty on this point. They pick off DCR1 and now closing it out on Soldier. Surely, yes, they do get it down. Whoa.
The best actor award goes
what
to
a fight.
Apudo.
Yeah, he got the BAFTA.
Oh boy, that was a long one. I wasn't too sure about that. I mean, I know the season finale is always the best, but Jesus.
Yeah, like that. I mean, really, all the threads that have been set up all season long came to a loggerhead there.
Okay, I want to say though, I got to point out for Nonez in particular, the guy had multiple moments in there where a clutch rocket barrage at the opportune time for himself and the inopportune time for Fireball, but in particular Ninth, really swung the fight around.
Yeah, compared to the first time on Gardens, especially.
Yeah, really swung it. I mean, it should have been Fireball by all means. You're like, this has got to be Fireball, and then a rocket barrage out of nowhere. Especially the final one that we saw right at the back near the entrance of the White Room, and it was like, what? How did he get it back so fast?
Yeah. You almost couldn't script that better, right? Like, especially Apudo, at the very last minute, comes in with the Dragon Blade and does secure it out. Like, whoa, he was alive all along. It's like the opposite of Sixth Sense.
So, just while we were in the middle of that match, just to bring up a completely new thing.
Okay, sure.
Omnicide is already a word. And
what does it mean?
Ironically, it's basically the opposite of what you were trying to coin the term as.
What does it mean?
It is the extinction of the human race by human means. So,
wow.
So the Omnic Crisis then.
Omnic
Crisis is
I guess because humans made
Does it have
Omnics, I
anything to do
suppose.
with like omnivore?
No, because I guess omni is a term for all, and
Yeah.
I guess we can't use that one.
Well,
yep, sorry.
It's going to have to be Androidicide. Well, in any case, here are the lineups that the two teams pulled out on what was the grueling 4 maps of Lijiang, but a well-deserved win for Fireball.
And it's just a little bit, one that we didn't quite get on this list is Apudo's Soldier 76, which made a little bit of a debut on the first Gardens as well. He just pulled it at the end and wasn't quite there. So something interesting is Fireball didn't secure the first Gardens. They made a change on the Soldier, which was better, but couldn't secure it. And they absolutely looked weak with Apudo on Genji up against Nonez as fair. Now, the second time around, they stayed onto it, and they managed to just break out at the end. They managed to just secure it. So,
But it was still a struggle.
oh yeah.
We've got to recognize that the second Gardens very, very easily could have gone Machi's way.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of those fights, specifically on the second Gardens, a lot of the reses were not getting enough value, right? You weren't shopping down the bargain aisle anymore.
They were just at awkward times.
I mean, some of them, yes, like definitely got a whole lot of value. 2 ults to kill a few guys who just immediately get rezzed. That's good value, and that did happen. So credit to him there. But quite often it would just be to bring the numbers back up, and then that's when they say, well, we still have a Dragon Blade.
Yeah, exactly. They were coming out with ultimates having not been committed by Fireball. We talk about there being 2 kinds of reses, right? There's value and tempo, and value is like, I resurrected my whole team, and we absorbed all of your ultimates in so doing, and now we have all of ours. And then a tempo res is, we're even for ultimates, we're just bringing this, we're just trying to do this, getting 1 or 2 guys to swing a numbers advantage. And I constantly felt like Kiyomi was halfway between the two. It was like, oh, I need to bring these 2 members back so that we can, have a bit of a numbers advantage. But then 2 more would immediately die to the ultimates that were still in the back pocket of Fireball.
Not even the back pocket. Like he's literally
In the
already
front pocket,
he's
yeah.
already pulled the sword out. It's out of the pocket.
He's pulled his phone out of his pocket. Is the pocket pun
It's a
equivalent.
fanny pack, so it's in the front and it's easy. It's easy to access.
Should you say
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the word for it.
It is, but like, bum bag is also a thing. Like, I don't know, I'm English. If I call it a fanny pack, it's really weird.
Well,
There's a
in-
bum bag. A
in
bum
any
bag.
case, in any case, I feel like some great reses on second gardens, but some that were just exploited. And that's really the long story of
Yeah.
that Mercy play there.
Just fanning about on the point was Kiyomi. Didn't really have the timing down.
Expert Mercy analysis there, but you know, it's, what I find interesting is that Apudo decided, or maybe Fireball as a whole decided, look, we're not going to start with a soldier here, full well knowing that it's very likely for Nones to run the Farragon. That was a very conscious decision, and even then, after discovering, lo and behold, the Pharaoh is back again. We're not going to change off the Genji.
Their
we will
plan was to
stay.
deflect all the rockets.
They
Just send them back.
One out of
Yeah.
like 99 or something.
All right, now I want to turn attention to what our next matchup is going to be, all right? It's going to be Fireball's pick. They have picked King's Row. Gentlemen, what do we have to say about this? Are we sending anyone to their rooms? Are we disappointed? What do you have to say for yourselves?
Well, it's probably the most normal pick coming out of Fireball. I've got to say, because
We're just gonna have a normal day. Like we're gonna go to Lijiang, we're gonna go to King's Row, and then we're gonna go to what,
Hamura.
Temple of Anubis.
well, I guess they're probably about even now.
just really just normal. Like nothing with no Ilios, like no Eichenwald, no Volskaya.
I want to
just
put it out
normal.
there. This is very winnable for Fireball. I mean, the whole series. They're already one up, so they're doing better than they did the last
Yeah.
time they faced
They've already
Machi.
won. Now they could win.
So now that they can, I would not be surprised if it's no longer time for Fireball to be doing oddball picks or stuff they haven't really practiced. If they're on the path to victory, why not pick something you're more comfortable on? This is what you want. This is where you believe you're strong on. If Fireball want to go King's Row, and it's pretty standard anyway, I think Fireball need to be able to look at how they can close out the series.
Yeah.
It's very important. They're already ahead. Time to finish it.
And I suppose even the thing from Machi's side, if we talk about them needing to pick up wins so that they can really close the gap as best as possible between them and the top three teams, so that, you know, when they get that, say, rematch against Flash Wolves where they have won before, you know, that's where they want to be breaking into the top three. They can only do that if they've picked up these wins now. And you worry, even if they do pull out a win here, if you're still dropping maps to some of these bottom three teams, could you even beat Flash Wolves a second time around?
So I'm thinking, as we go into this one, for both teams' attacks, actually, it's going to be very, very based in dive compositions. Obviously for Fireball, because they love that Winston composition, but Machi have shown that they very much favor it as well. We saw back on Lijiang Tower, Control Center, they still ran their dive composition anyway. No Reinhardt in sight. So I'm still expecting both defense and offense for both of these teams to run Winston-based dive compositions until we get to maybe third checkpoint.
But
But.
big but is that Machi
Big
have
fanny
the
pack.
option of actually switching back onto shields, and Fireball don't, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And you know, we've already seen. Look, if you're not flexible enough to do that, currently Blanca's struggling to find out how they can now readjust to playing against more shield-based compositions, specifically ones with tanks in them. And Fireball's in a position where they're currently locked into Winston Dive. They cannot have the option of switching to Shield. And Machi, if they want to switch it up, this could be a little bit of a sucker punch for Fireball.
Yeah, and the other thing they could do, right, is exactly what AHQ just did to Blank, and just run triple tank. Like, they can do that too. Machi are one of the teams that can actually run triple tank. We haven't seen it from them in this tournament specifically, but in terms of what their players can play and where their flexibility lies, it's an option, right? It's an option that is very much on the table for them. I'm very curious to see what, in fact, both of these teams pull out. I'm already seeing a Reinhardt shield there. Thank you very much once again, Smite. We're going to leave you for the briefest of moments as these two teams show down in the U of K, where you say bum bag, not fanny pack.
And I think Fireball want to prove a point here. They've been practicing a little bit of Reinhardt.
Yeah, hello.
Maybe a little bit of spoilers.
Well, they can't
there.
change.
Yeah, a little bit of spoilers there before you get it, and now you see it for yourself.
Yeah, this is interesting. This is a triple tank of their own. So, hello.
Oh boy, this is exciting. Fireball. This is a new Fireball.
It's a brand new ball of fire. They're burning some different kind of fuel here.
I mean, Let's hope so. I'm excited to see what Fireball's prepared
Yeah,
for.
first they recast Apudo as Peter Capaldi. Now they're burning a different kind of fuel in their fire. And this is exactly what Machi should struggle against unless they get really great Discord orbs. And already you're seeing how much trouble Cantor's having actually harassing this backside. Fireball, Rocket a little exposed, needs to retreat successfully and does so. This is better Reinhardt play than we've seen from him in the past. And they get the picks to support it. Machi are repelled.
Honestly, positionally, Fireball had a bit of a rough moment there because Machi completely surrounded them. They had the high ground, they had the tower, they had the bell tower behind them, the clock tower behind them. And for Machi, they tried to collapse into Fireball. Fireball did fall back together as a group, consolidated, put Machi in a pole position, and picked up a couple of kills. Now, Nones will come in with the Dragon Blade here, so I'm expecting aggression, full aggression from Machi. And if Fireball want to survive this, I think they may need to back out to the archway again.
Smart retreat though, Fireball reading the first attack as it came. Successfully retreated, and now with the sound barrier running, they have more time to get the retreat. Nones though, running with this. That's a good one. That's what they wanted. Picking up Rocket and NZNR is big for them. They're starting to close out the rest of them now, looking for Zalks. Apudo may be able to swing back, but he hasn't really got the backup to do it. I think he should just back off, let this one go over, and hold on to the ultimate for later.
Unfortunately, Machi just kind of... I think the sound barrier really put the lid on for Machi. Both sound barriers came up for both teams.
Yeah.
And Restia's one was timed, so it was just a little bit later than Fireball. So, Fireball's staying power got dramatically reduced. As soon as Rocket went down, Fireball's entire front line melted, and that's when the back line got too exposed. That's all Machi needed.
Yeah, that was a decent commit Earth Shadow, but... I mean... This is still, like, as much as that was well placed, right? They're still miles in front of the payload. Like, Machi's still got the space that they were after to push this payload forward. So, Fireball, they're still going to need to find somewhere to defend this.
Yeah, I think I got a couple of tools, though. They don't have an Earth Shadow because Rocket, it looks like he has used. That one didn't quite catch it. It will be Knight's opportunity to get a Graviton. Sergio has to watch for the... has to watch for no talk because he might just end up losing this, but the Fireball, they gotta do something here. Here it is.
Careful, Kant, and there's gonna be the commit out of Apudo to do a double self-destruct, but it's NZNR with the mileage, and Apudo cleaning up the last few with that tactical visor. That was the defense that Fireball were after.
And it's good they got that mileage because they comboed it with the Graviton Surge, which kind of leads me to believe that Apudo's Tech Visor was a bit wasted there. You were always going to get a decent amount of mileage out of self-destruct plus Graviton combo. I mean, and there's no Reinhardt shield on Machi's side anyway to block it out, so a little bit of poor efficiency maybe out of Fireball. They're going to need a little bit, they're going to need more than that if they want to block out the card, because the card positioning is good enough for Machi that they can pull this one out. The last time we saw Nones' Dragon Blade come out, it did lead to a victory.
Yeah,
Gotta
really
watch
did.
for Rocket. If Rocket goes down, Fireball gets opened up.
Double sound barrier will be there though. The key one is going to be that Transcendence. It could absolutely swing this, and also if Nones gets a big number of kills, but the sound barrier immediately reacts to it, and that is a very early Transcendence. They do pick Zalks, but here's the nano boost through to try and turn it back around, and yeah, Earth Shatter as well, and that also takes out the sound barrier for Machi, which could well have given them the extra few feet of rope they needed, but no such luck as Fireball looked poised to close out this fight and once again repel Machi after they threw all of their ultimates at that fight.
I'm going to give that one to Rocket because although we didn't see it on screen, I'm so sure the Earth Shatter connected properly with just the right amount of members because you saw no more further pickups from Machi, no more further kills that they needed. We only saw what Nones saw. What Nones saw was where are the rest of my teammates? They're not here. They are all dying, and Fireball holds on to the defense. And also, he probably needed healing.
Yeah, he probably did need healing, and his healer was probably dead.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, we know for sure he was. Restia was not able to ult because he was dead. They have a couple of ults once again, but they are going to be walking into that Graviton self-destruct combo that works so well.
Here we go.
So there it goes. Once again, the self-destruct already straight in. Will it get the same? Yes, it will. Picks up 2, and that's out of the mech as well for no talk. Totally routed there. Machi starting to look a little lean on time.
Should get this kill as well, and 2's really perfect. The reason why you actually don't want more than 2 kills there is because you want the rest of your members to get the kills with their weapons, and you don't want to... Getting additional kills on the self-destruct doesn't help you recharge ultimates. You can recharge ultimates a lot better by... What is going on with Kant?
Kant's just AFK for a moment.
That's
He's had to answer the phone.
To be honest, that's fine because Kant can just sort of sneak out during the next fight and just chuck a nasty pulse bomb somewhere. But yeah, I think so far Fireball.
Well, they chucked a nasty pulse bomb nowhere apparently, and that is a very, very quick Tactical Visor Nano Boost combo to come out. Gets completely negated by the Transcendence, but they're still going to be able to combo it with an Earth Shatter. And because he has the high ground, even though the ultimates ran out, they totally cleaned the floor in that fight.
Pudo's still alive as well.
Yeah.
This is now...
Well, this is a late commit from Nonez.
Yeah, it is. It's
they
desperate.
might be able to make it happen, but
no,
without...
he got shut down.
Yeah. Unfortunately. And that was with actually Enzen out of the mech. Like, that should have been a squishy target for him to close out on. They've managed to get a Pudo and Kurlos off the back end of that, though. So they kind of had the payload underway. They're not really in a position to win a fight here, but they haven't lost it just yet either, Machi. They're just kind of running down the clock, which will eventually hurt them if Fireball do get a successful fight here.
Okay.
But now Machi turning up the heat, looking to close it out, find ninth as well, because Fireball didn't have any ultimates to go on, and they do end up getting a cap through.
I think right at the end there, being able to chase a Pudo on out because the Fireball tanks had to sort of stay on cut, contest the cut, they couldn't protect their carries anymore. Pudo going down in particular for Fireball.
Kind of really dropped the Fireball there.
Really spelled the doom for Fireball, and for Machi, that's all they needed to cap on through. And they still had remaining members roughly around Fireball's spawn, so for Fireball, they were caught between two sides of attacking forces on Machi. They didn't know where to go.
They put themselves in a bad position. I mean, it wasn't even that Machi forced them into that spot. It was an unforced error. And now Nonez already looking to go on the aggressors. They've got the payload into a nice spot for themselves just around this corner. It's a decent spot for Fireball to defend at, but they need a few ultimates first as Restia commits in with this sound barrier. But here's now the ultimates for Fireball. Nano Boost Tactical Visor and a Pudo cleans up. Cant on the side. They're all, that's everything actually, aside from the Earth Shatter. It does work, but was maybe a bit more than was necessary.
Yeah, that's the second time we've seen a Grav self-destruct combo plus attack visor. You really want to
Not just attack visor, that was a nano visor.
Yeah, so this is the thing. In terms of ultimate rotations, Fireball had a great rotation before. You had one defense which was just Grav and self-destruct, then another defense with attack visor nano. This time they used absolutely everything. Overcommit. Machi's turn to play now. They have the ball in their court. And
they committed the nano visor before the Grav even went out, so they didn't have to do it that way. That's a good pulse bomb to open it up, picking Kurlos, and that leaves the way open for Nonez to clean up the backline. Rocket does get a good response with that Earth Shatter, picking up a kill for himself, and Nonez does get picked off. But Machi is still looking in a good position, especially if they can close out on NZ and I here and stop anyone else from Fireball getting into this fight. But they've had enough time to get a Pudo, Kurlos, and Ninth back out of the base. They may just be able to turn it back around here. Fireball, it's going to be really, really tight as we come into the closing stretches here. No Talk trying to keep the payload contested, but he's looking lean for healers. Kurlos finding Cant is really unfortunate for Machi in terms of harassing these people coming out of the base. And DCR1 is getting hard pressured here. His team cannot safely retreat behind him. Look at Kurlos' positioning. Such clean sight lines as they punish Machi as they trickle on in. Yeah, Nano Boost available for them. Goes on out. Kurlos trying to keep this one alive. Rocket, who can he find here? They're looking to close it out now as Machi looking very lean for members, even as the payload is close. And if they step off for the briefest of seconds, this overtime will disappear faster than my father gone out for cigarettes. And that is Machi not quite marching it to the end.
Fireball just managed to get the correct ultimates at the right time there. The Nano Boost to delay a little bit further. The Primal Rage as well. Even just a Primal Rage at the end does buy enough time for the rest of Fireball to respawn. Now, Machi, they had to get more picks there. The only way Machi were going to close that one out is if they were going to be able to overflow the defense of Fireball. If you had just a reinforcements to come back in, you were already at a disadvantage for that because of the closeness of Fireball's spawn. I mean, Machi not getting more picks than Fireball at a crucial moment, just going toe-to-toe one-for-one was not good enough.
I'm also going to say Machi were only allowed that opportunity anyway because, like you mentioned, Fireball kind of whiffed their ultimate rotation. Had they had either that Graviton Self-Destruct or the Nano Visor combo when Machi went in for that last fight, it would have been over much quicker. Machi wouldn't have even got that window. And even with that window, Machi still couldn't actually close it out. So I'm going to say well-deserved by Fireball, even though there were some mistakes earlier on.
Yeah, you got to question the ult rotation there because it started out so good, particularly on the streets phase, right where the cart was sort of nearing the cap but not quite there. That is when Fireball had the best rotations. They didn't overcommit. They had just the two in the right places at the right time. Grav and Self-Destruct always came up together at the right time. Nano and Visor both came out together as what was timed perfectly, and then the overcommit right at the end was just a shame.
I'll tell you what, though. If Fireball can actually take this to third point and pick up this map, not only will they be 2-0 up, they will have also proved, this is the most important thing, they will have also proved that they can play more than just Winston. They actually
at least on defense, because
they actually stuck on the Reinhardt the whole way through. Sure, but I mean, it's still something, right? They actually stuck on it the whole way through, and they made it work for themselves. And he got good Earth Shatters. He played far better than Rocket was previously playing on Reinhardt before they made the switch to Winston.
Absolutely, and I think it's going to be Machi's turn to flex out the Reinhardt as well. And this is something I said was always in Machi's back pocket, and at any point they could bring this.
But already entered and now looking to harass around the backside. This is exactly what Machi just did to Fireball. Machi just did to Fireball. Exactly what I was saying. And here we are, Machi already kind of making a better job of it. Fireball in a bit of an awkward spot here.
They're finding difficulty in getting open here. This could be it because the Discord orb is on DCL1.
Yeah,
getting the kills gets them the opening.
NZNR was so long untouched in that backline. He had the ultimate up and found a pick on Nones for it as well. So Fireball have opened themselves a door now. That is a big commit here, actually. Oh, is that going to be enough to turn around? No, it's not. Apudo closing out with that Dragon Blade, and Fireball will get the cap, will get the payload underway, and are actually looking in pretty good shape on this offense.
Actually, I might give him that Dragon Blade. I was kind of internally confident that Fireball were going to be able to take it without it, but it looked like they did need it at the end, which is a little bit of a shame because you would like to keep it if you could. You want to keep it here because it does allow you to sort of get a little bit more extra ground and snowball your way through, particularly if you're going to start losing members here, and Machi will be able to get a good contest on the archway, and that is not where you want Machi to be if you're Fireball.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. Machi struck back there. Fireball did not commit to going forward enough to open up that payload space like we often talk about. A lot of that was because they didn't have that Dragon Blade, but half the team did commit, and that was the half that died. Machi making good use of that, and now
combo
looking
time.
Set, yeah, you said combo time. Looking set to defend the archway.
Good particle shield as well.
There they go. Actually, picking NZ and R should be all they need, and now they're going to commit the Graviton to the rest of the team. Even if they don't win this fight, it's forced out the Transcendence, which goes down just as the explosion goes off, and he picks up 2. That will be a hold now for Machi.
The Transcendence is absolutely unrequired. Transcendence will not save you from self-destruct. It will save you from small bursts of damage, but not one massive blast of 1,000. So kind of wasted there by Curlis. You need to be able to read that situation a little bit better.
People often forget that. It's not invulnerability. It's actually just extremely fast healing.
It is. And look at this. In terms of rotations, Machi are doing rotations properly. Only requiring 2 ultimates to get the win. Only killing 2 members. But hey, the rest of the members got the rest of the kills, which then charges everybody else's ult. If they can get, I think Nano Visor should be the correct rotation here now.
This is where Machi want to show their strategic superiority, giving themselves the runway to do it with that sound barrier out, but it's not enough to stop up Apudo. Yeah, they didn't actually get the ultimates off in the right way at the right time, even as they committed that visor, and Fireball get the payload back underway. They break the archway there, and they're actually in better shape than Machi were a moment ago in terms of ultimates.
This is ridiculous. I think Machi misplayed that. I'm going to believe.
Definitely did.
I'm going to believe that DCL1 didn't land his hammer because we didn't really see that, and Nones didn't. He got his tag visor off because he did go on 0. And the Nano was committed as well because
no, the Nano wasn't committed because it wasn't up, but the other 2 were and whiffed.
No, everything was up. Only self-destructed grab were gone. The other 4 ultimates were absolutely up, and everything was used. You can see they got nothing now, which means 2 ultimates committed onto Nones, and Apudo instantly shut him down. The Earth Shatter miss, so the only thing that hit was a sound barrier.
Which is...
That got eaten. That pulse bomb got eaten.
Yeah, that's actually really big there if they want to try and hold this one out. But NZNR, he's still doing all the work anyway. He's no one pulse bomb pony. And with the harass down, they get Kant out of the mech. That's a good way to start it off. Kiyomi commits the boost, but it doesn't matter. Apudo has already opened up on this team. Nano boosting DCR1 is not enough to win you a fight.
The game.
Yeah, that's the Apudo show. That's how it looks, man. This is a well-written season once again.
He's got to be careful. He almost got taken down there a little bit. Trying to chew off a little, trying to bite a little bit more than he can chew.
No, nice and fast.
Actually, Rocket got the kill anyway, so they cleaned it up pretty perfectly. it will deny Machi from getting a good foothold. The late respawn from Nonez means they gotta wait for the damage to come out. They don't have to wait too long, but it will give Fireball enough time to get this cart roughly around the first bend.
They do have a Graviton self-destruct combo in just a moment here, but I don't know that they have anything to rotate into after that. They're going to throw out that very same combo, though. But there's the Transcendence again.
That's wasted. They
Did
gotta learn.
Did they not learn?
They clearly did not learn. I think this
That
is
was
something they're going to work on.
very poor. I mean, last time Fireball then turned around in the next fight, but you don't want to use that Transcendence if you don't have to, right? You'd rather hold on to it and have more of a chance of turning around the
You
next
actually
fight.
know what? Sound Barrier is something you can use. Actually, no, even Sound Barrier doesn't protect you because you can't get yourself above 1,000 HP. So you want both Sound Barrier and or Transcendence to deal with the Nano Visor, and now they got none of that, and Nano Visor's coming up next in rotation.
Yeah, they kind of gave themselves the runway to have ultimates to rotate into. I was saying a moment ago that they didn't have them, but Machi bought themselves that time. Now coming into this next fight, Fireball have some ultimates of their own. That's a decent Earth Shatter. Catches Zalfs, which is all they need, because that would have been the safety net for Apudo, who now opens up with no backup and finds nothing. So good hold by Machi there. They didn't need to rotate into the Nano Visor. DCR1 got just enough with that Earth Shatter, and they recognized that the moment it connected, even though it didn't get the whole team, it got just enough for them to close out the fight.
That was really interesting. I think Ninth just managed to dodge it because he's standing on top of the card, and the Earth Shatter just kind of went beneath him. So only Zelfix got caught out. Yeah, they ended up winning anyway, but now they're going to have the Nano Visor as the next sort of, that's definitely the next combo. It's difficult to pull this off because they have to also wait for Fireball to commit.
Oh.
I think Fireball will commit now.
Yeah, it's a good pick onto No Talk, and it will mean he can't actually charge the Graviton while this ultimate rotation is coming out, but it might not be enough as Rocket commits. Goes deep, just barely staying alive, finally going down, but it absorbed the entire run of that Nano Visor combo. This is still an uncontested Nonez though, so he's in the position to turn it back around. Fireball are getting the payload underway though, so Nonez smartly is going to reposition. They're going to cede a bit more distance and maybe now try and come in for a counterattack, but they need to get the picks to back it up.
I got to correct you just a little bit there because the Nano was actually used onto DCR1, not Nonez. So Nonez went for a standard tag visor.
Well, they did technically last both ultimates out. They just weren't
The
paired.
thing is, the DCR1 got instantly slept by Curler, so Nano Visor was no effect. Tag Visor didn't really get a kill there, so unfortunately for Machi, they did successfully defend, but it was more of a delay for Fireball rather than a team wipe or anything like that. So Fireball going to come in with a decent amount of ultimates
Nano Visor
themselves,
their
and
own.
this will be the push.
They're looking for the opening if they can find it, and that's the Earth Shatter on
no.
DCR1. It's decent, but the Sound Barrier saves
Oh,
Fireball.
no.
Oh, great charge, but he's still alive. Apudo staying safe through that one. Now Rocket, his Earth Shatter could totally change the face of this fight as no one is dead just yet, but they're about to all die. Fireball drop like flies. The health bars were too low to keep lasting in that fight, and Machi do hold on.
The important thing to note is Fireball did save the Earth Shatter, so they can still get this push done. They don't have that much distance to go. Machi are charging up these combos again. In fact, they don't have the self-destruct, but they have a grab, and that grab will be able to charge everyone else's ultimates, as there's no Transcendence. Curls is swapped off. There's also no Sound Barrier.
There's no Tracer either to harass the backline. They're going through the front door, and the only
This
thing
Earth
they
Shatter
have,
has to win.
the only thing they have left to leverage now is this Earth Shatter. This is really, really dangerous stuff because if it whiffs, if the wrong person dies, even if Rocket dies, this is over for Fireball. This is so dangerous.
We are definitely going to overtime.
Oh no! Straight into DCR1 shield means that they now have nothing to go on for this fight as the Graviton comes out and Nonez opens up with the visor. They got the key picks, and that's going to be all she wrote for it. Even as NZNR gets back up, it is only to be dropped straight back down again, and Machi closed this out. Fireball, no such luck.
I cannot believe that came down to one ultimate and just so tense. I mean,
So undisciplined by Rocket.
he just threw it out there, right? He didn't.
Just
it wasn't.
went, oh, let's go.
It wasn't like set up. It wasn't like the play should have been for Fireball. Okay, break shields. We need to play for shields here. We need to play all of our damage onto DCR1's shield, and then we will Earth Shatter. That needed to be what happened.
What happened there, we talked too much about the Apudo show, and Rocket thought he was in a movie, right? Rocket thought it was scripted. Rocket thought he could, blindfold himself and throw the dart and get the bullseye. But look, this isn't a movie. This is real life, dude.
It's also
you can't just get a miracle ultimate because this is the moment it counts. It doesn't work that way. You have to do the groundwork. And they totally failed there. They totally failed to get it over the line.
That's
and aside from that, actually, I do feel like Fireball fixed a lot of their issues with playing comps other than this Winston-oriented dive. But then, man, Rocket failing at that last minute there, it leaves a final question mark where otherwise there wouldn't have been one.
I will tell you something else. So, while we do highlight that, I also want to highlight the multiple transcendences that didn't need to be used.
Yeah,
I want to highlight
bizarre.
the poor rotations at the end for Fireball and sort of general. So as much as all the weight of the team fell on Rocket's shoulders, why did it end up that way? Because if Fireball had macro properly, I think they would have been put in a better position where even if Rocket had missed the Earthshatter, you got a backup plan. Where's your plan B, your plan C? You have opportunities to still win, but they got put in a position where that's all they had, and of course, unfortunately, it did not go in their favor.
Yeah, so I'm going to unpack a bit of a piece of information here, and I'll throw it to you after that to discuss it a bit, I suppose, because the thing that was notable there, we were joking about it a bit, but a lot of that was the Apudo show, but Machi are playing a better game. They are playing a better game tactically, tactically and in terms of the macro and all that jazz, right? And then Fireball are sometimes winning just because they get really, really great solo plays, especially out of Apudo and then sometimes out of Ninth as well. So I think even though this is looking quite tight, I would put Machi as being ahead of Fireball right now, but they do seem to have a weakness in that they're unable to shut down players that go off. When they come up against players like Aiiruap and Dizzy and Zonda, that can plague them just as much. So is this a glaring weakness for Machi? Or is this just how Apudo is?
So yeah, there are moments where Apudo does go golden or at least electrically shiny when he gets the nano boost. And he does get a ton of kills. And that's something that is quite hard to shut down.
Shiny and chrome.
Gonna
die historic on the Fury Road.
Well, half the time he does die when he gets shut down.
Yeah.
But when he does get those great moments, it is quite hard to shut down a Genji who's dashing all over the place, because remember, once he gets that first kill, he does get a reset, can become much more mobile and harder to shut down. Your best tool for that is usually a sleep dart, right? And that is still incredibly hard to hit on a Genji who, like I said, incredibly mobile. So when you're running, which both teams did on defense, that shield-based triple tank composition, what have you really got to shut down a Nano Blade or even a regular old Dragon Blade? You've got some defensive ultimates like Sound Barrier or even Transcendence to a point to keep your team alive, or if you're lucky, charge them into a wall.
Yeah, that's what happens when you don't focus the Demon.
This is the thing, that charge of the wall did happen. It happened at the end of King's Row where an Earthshatter came down from DCL1, hit a couple members, most importantly Apudo, who tacked Visored roughly around the same time. So timing-wise, fortunately for DCL, it was good. And then on top of that, Kurlos gave him a nano, gave Apudo a nano, which then Apudo got immediately charged. So the entire tack visor, the entire nano visor, shut down, no opportunity whatsoever to get off the ground. So as much as Apudo does go off and get the kills, it's almost a problem for Fireball where, yeah, it's great, but what happens when Apudo can't go off? It's a side of, can Machi deal with this, and also, can Fireball actually leverage this consistently? And I don't think they can.
And we touched on something as well that's kind of relevant to this in the first half of that, where Fireball whiffed an ultimate rotation. Machi made no such mistake. So as much as we go, oh well, Machi wouldn't have got that opportunity if it weren't for Fireball's mistake.
They did make a mistake. They did.
I'm going to let you have that one in a moment.
Okay.
I'm leading you into this. Don't you worry. So
I got worried.
Like we sort of looked at that after the first half and went, oh, well, Machi they wouldn't have got that if it weren't for Fireball's mistake. But the reality is Fireball did make a mistake. Machi didn't make those kinds of mistakes. You're right, they did make other mistakes. So that's kind of what I want to hand to you guys, because I feel like Fireball's mistakes are much bigger in the macro sense, and Machi's mistakes are a little bit finer and I think easier to clean up.
Do you remember that fight? I'm pretty sure this was also King's Row, when Machi were like a good 4 ultimates ahead. They had a lot of ultimates, and they just they went wide, and the only one that hit was a Sound Barrier. The only Machi ultimate that hit was Sound Barrier. Everything else.
Yeah. Well, in any case, even Stevens now, and next up will be Assault. At the very least, we're going to be going to a Game 4, which is pretty exciting times, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this one takes us to a Game 5. But before we hit up that Game 3, we are going to be going ahead and taking a quick break, so don't go anywhere. Well, there you have it. We are back once again, ready and waiting to kick it over to Assault. We talked a little bit about what we're going to see here, guys. We're having a normal night of normal games and normal maps, and it's going to be Temple of Anubis. No, it's not. It's Volskaya.
Yeah, I was just going to say, gosh darn the predictions, because I was going to sound really cool and say, no, Machi going to take it to Volskaya.
They wanted to...
Because, and I mean, this was a while ago, but
you're going to bring this up again.
You're going to bring it up again. They beat Flash Wolves on Volskaya.
We're going to get to week 13, and
you're going to be like,
Machi going to be eliminated. You're like, well, you know, like 10 weeks ago, Machi beat Flash Wolves on Volskaya.
It'll be the grand finals where AHQ are playing. It's like, well, they're not going to pick Volskaya, obviously, because
that's where Machi beat Flash Wolves.
We're going to be old. Back in 2017, Machi beat Flash Wolves on Volskaya. I'll have you know.
We're gonna be in rocking chairs one day. Do you remember when Machi beat Flash Wolves on Volskaya?
But seriously,
I'm so sorry. We're just ragging on this. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You're not wrong, but you have said this so many times now.
It's a valid point. I'm like, the thing is, he's said it so many times because he's completely right. Let's be nice to the guy. Good analysis.
You're allowed to be nice.
I also wanted to say that every map of Assault is kind of a normal map now. We've kind of discussed this because there's only 3. You don't have that 4th off pick. Every map is just a pick.
Yeah, because we were talking about that just for those who didn't actually catch that conversation. Of course, you are always going to have at least Control, Hybrid, Assault if it's a 3-0, right? And 2 of those Control and Hybrid have 4 maps in the pool, and for what it's worth as well, 2 of those maps for each of those tend not to be seen as much. For Control, right now, it's Oasis and Ilios, and for Hybrid right now, it's Hollywood and Eichenwald, right? So you're right, Assault doesn't have that 4th option. If anything, the weird pick is Volskaya, but that's only 1, and we see it just often enough that it's not like, whoa, Volskaya, what's going on? It's sort of like, okay, they're going for something a little different here. Maybe they saw Machi beat Flash Wolves.
So weird pick or not, it doesn't really matter, because Machi picking this into Fireball is kind of interesting, because we talk about how fantastic, well, how often they run the Winston composition, and even though we saw them try to make the Reinhardt work on King's Row, the Winston composition is clearly what they're more comfortable on, and that's something you're fine to run on Volskaya, on defense, on offense, both points, it doesn't matter. Now, Machi having the option of flexing onto that Reinhardt composition is definitely going to be, or would have been in their favor if we didn't just see that Fireball are fine to run that too. They're at least comfortable to run that.
Yeah, there's no longer an ace up the sleeve, as it were. It's just, excuse me, it's just going to be who's got the better hand of cards.
Maybe Machi pulls out the Orisa composition.
My God, please.
Oh no, only Sun Sister can do that.
And then like I won't stop talking about it. Be like, this is where Machi pulled out Orisa. And it worked. Do you remember when Machi beat Fireball with Orisa on Volskaya Industries?
I tell
you guys will be hearing about it to the end of your days.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it at your funerals and be like, I remember when we were watching Machi beat Fireball on Volskaya.
But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So
it's going to be identical.
Okay, if it does happen, what are you going to do?
Nothing.
Are we betting a shoe here?
No. This is entirely pointless.
Production got shaved a moustache. Like, he doesn't
entirely
even have
pointless.
a moustache.
So I do anyway, so it's fine. Volskaya is you can't see it because it's
because he shaved it. He's one step ahead of this bet.
Fellas, we're going to see identical dive compositions coming up. Maybe the healers are going to be different. Maybe as
What if they both pull out Orisa?
Look, Orisa is as dead in this conversation as she is in the meta.
I like that.
No, she hasn't got into the meta yet. Well, in any case, check it out. Check it out.
Can't do it.
He can't load the double jump. In any case, once again, thank you very much, Smite, for helping us break down the encroaching madness. Let's go ahead. And,
I love the surfing.
Let's go ahead and get cold here in Volskaya. See if Fireball can melt the ice.
The best part is that Winston's got one hand up as he's surfing. It's great. Oh boy. Anyway, no one's actually going to be able to load it up.
No. And there's no Orisas. I'm so
there
disappointed.
Is a and this is something teams are definitely running now. And I like this move out from Fireball. This is, again, a very typical kind of move, but a very effective one. Of course, the health pack is already gone, hacked away.
And that's the thing that the Sombra really does, is it just makes this particular execution a little bit harder because it is such a popular way to attack right now. But so far, Fireball aren't really getting too slowed down by that particular thing, and already putting the pressure on DCR1. Actually, that's the pick that'll open this right up. That's really big for them. Good movement by NZ&R. Not quite harassing this high ground just yet, but yeah, here they go now diving onto Kiyomi. That's sort of the next movement, as it were, now Nonez forced off that as well. Struggling to really find the right targets to Kiyomi, stuck on this low ground, is going to get forced out, if not taken down. Nonez does try to get onto some healers, but the rest of his team has already been dealt with, and now he too will be dealt with.
That was a really risky translocate that absolutely did not work out for him. I mean, he just kind of translocated 1 meter to the right a little bit. And if you're Knight, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just...
He was trying to be invisible as well, so they're like, where did the Sombra go? But it didn't quite work. But in any case, that was very well executed by Fireball, actually, with very, very clean take of the first point.
And you know what? Machi didn't get the EMP off, so the whole point of the Sombra composition just kind of failed because, well, Fireball just got it quickly enough that Nonez was a non-factor. They're going to keep going with this anyway, and teams have been successful with Sombra still in the defense here.
Wow. Once again, NZ&R are the one who finds the opening. They do get some crucial trades back, though, this time around, taking out Apudo and Kurlos. So Fireball should be stopped up on this one. And this first defense is the most crucial one for Machi. This is the one where they can kind of build a bit of an ultimate economy for themselves, get the GDP up and pumping, and it is so far successful.
They're going to need a little bit of time to just get this EMP back charged up. The good thing for Fireball is they didn't get wiped, they exited. Because they exited, they can regroup a lot faster. They can push. The timing important here. They can get in a push before the EMP comes out. In fact, they need to get the majority of Machi's ultimates come up.
Oh, I was going to say, if they get a pick, then they are donezo, and that was it. The right-click headshot, Kurlos to Kiyomi, and now Apudo opens it up with a sound barrier cushion to keep him safe. They are just absolutely packing on the pressure. Kiyomi is in with the respawn, but they lose DCR1 right as he ults. That is really unfortunate. No shield there to protect the team, but no one goes down to the self-destruct. Buys them some time. The EMP comes out. There it goes, but Nonez is already down and out for the count. They've got to be able to get a third off this, surely. NZ&R needs to find a great pulse bomb for it, though, as they force Kiyomi back off to the side. Nice one for them. This should be the third about to go now. Any moment now, surely, trying to get this last tank down. If they get repelled, this is going to be terrible for them. But NZ&R backing off has kind of flagged the retreat, and they didn't quite get the right kill at the right time. Never got that last member down.
And that's important because oh, no way.
Yeah, wait.
Hovered Arista for a second and I got triggered. But Machi got they're getting their ultimates up, and it's a real shame for Fireball because their attack was so well planned, it was so well executed, but you're right, they couldn't get that last member down. Just one tank or one support, one slippery plan.
Oh, it's the one they wanted, but it didn't quite get it to stick onto Kiyomi.
He found Nonez though.
Been here all along. And NZ&R now is in the... What happened there? It was very spooky for a moment, but he is going to go into full retreat. No kills coming through just yet, and Machi now counterattacking as Fireball kind of forced them onto the point. They pick out Rocket, and NZ&R, no matter how much ducking and weaving he does, Machi do have the positional advantage here. Good pick onto Restia, but Kurlos and Ninth are far too low to keep this one going.
This is a real shame for Fireball because they're now considerably behind. Got to play against an EMP, got to play against Take Visor Pulse Bomb, got nothing in the bank for themselves. Where they had excellent timing, that timing is completely off now. They have to be able to go to a fight, lose to the EMP combo with about everything Machi got in store, and then somehow build their own ultimates back up and find a timing where they can hopefully get in while EMP is recharging.
So if you're Machi right now, we talk about that ability to cycle ultimates, and on Assault in general, you want to get like a full team wipe or have enough positional advantage that your almost team wipe is as good as. Fireball don't really have that option. They kind of have to play for thirds, but that's what favors Machi because of how they can cycle the ult. Yeah, they don't have a third yet. And in order to play for thirds, you must always be ahead in the ultimate economy.
Preferably, anyway. It definitely helps things to be ahead. It's not impossible if you're behind. It just means there's more setup required. And currently, Fireball, they're losing a fight. They're losing a fight, and Machi didn't commit.
Yeah, I was going to say, this fight is a non-fight. This fight is Fireball got a couple of people picked, and then they just got a couple of people, like a couple more people picked, and then a few more, and then a few more. Like, sure, they're charging some ultimates, but you're right, they're not actually drawing them out. They're just kind of letting Machi pick them.
Yeah, and for Machi as well, you wanted to get a minimum of the EMP. Then the fact that Machi can win without any ults committed. We already said Fireball was behind. They didn't use any ultimates either, but they charged up so many of Machi's that I mean, this has to be one more throne fight now. This could have been a fight where Fireball committed. Now it no longer
Ended in
can be.
he goes wide with that pulse bomb, and you know, again, back to the ult economy, right? They are already behind in it, and now they lose Kurlos, one of the few ultimates they had at their disposal, and one of the most important for these kinds of fights. Kiyomi opens up with attack visor. A little bit more successful for Fireball in terms of drawing out ultimates, as they did get the EMP and tactical visor out, but they committed some of their own, so it's still even Stevens. And look, they're losing time here. That's what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Inzidar going onto the McCree as well. This may or may not help them.
Good heavens,
I'm not really
look at the time.
I'm not really super convinced by this just yet. There is a little bit of a timing window for Fireball now, where they have a couple of ultimates coming up. Well, really just the one, but they have two defensive ultimates and one offense, and they might just be able to squeeze in a victory here. If they can actually push, because known as it won't take long for you to come back.
Already lean on time. They commit to the point though, and Aputo not quite saved by that Transcendence. He does get a good number of kills for it though. There's the sound barrier to keep him nice and cozy as they try and close this one out. Now he's looking to get onto Restia. They do close out on that one, and actually
EMP?
they should be able to pick up a third here. Surely, yeah, the EMP can come out, but actually they lost DCR1. They are going to have to commit it anyway because they can't afford not to, but they might lose the fight anyway. They're getting a few
Rocket, that was
respawns
poor.
through. They're getting a few respawns through, and picking up Rocket and Kurlos could be enough to stop up Fireball. And yeah, it is Fireball. They choose to go into retreat. Here we go now with a counter attack. Sound barrier out from Restia to try and stop this third from being capped, but surely Fireball can get this. I mean, if not now, then when? Finally past that first third as they lose NZNR. This is now where Machi are going to be able to counter-attack. Fireball should be forced off by this. Aputo going down is going to secure that for them. At last, Fireball get the third, but it may just be a little too late.
Way too late. They needed to get that third, the first push on through, and this should have been the second
they had 6
third.
minutes.
If it's a second third, then they can push in there in the overtime to secure the last third. But if we go to overtime now, I don't know if they can get it done, because they've had much bigger advantages than this, where they still haven't been able to clear it through. They've had pushes where they kill Kiyomi right at the top, just like...
That's what they need, though.
Can they...
Yeah, all right, Aputo, sure. Let's see if it can happen now. Already trying to go for it with the Dragon Blade, but he didn't find anyone. He pulled it out a little too early. They get no talk, but Aputo's down. They're starting to get a few more in, and a good sound barrier to try and keep them alive in this one. Looking to get that second third as quickly as they can. Ends in against DCR1. That is nice, but Kiyomi is going to respawn with that visor if he gets a good position, but that kill could do it. Oh, they are going to make it try and happen here. Kurlos just barely gets the Transcendence off before the EMP comes out, and they've lost Kiyomi despite that tactical visor. Cans, this could be all they need to close it out. The Dead Eye doesn't quite find Can. Well-timed blink, but they close it out on him anyway. Machi are the ones trickling onto the point, even as DCR1 ults. You're right, Rocket still has his own ultimate though to buy them the extra health to secure this one out. And there we go. Oh my.
And just as I said, I don't know if they had the right advantages, and they had better advantages before. They got the same one again. They get Kiyomi, and then that was kind of the opening of what they required. And the big one, I think, was actually killing Nonez before Nonez had a chance to EMP. That EMP may have been what could have turned it around for Machi. When Nonez finally got in to use the EMP, what he got himself killed right away for starters, and also not enough members from Machi to successfully take advantage of it. It's kind of like an Earth Shatter. If you don't have the people there to commit and get the follow-up damage, you're not going to secure the kills on the EMP. So kind of, it's the staggered respawns for Machi as well. Everything started to not look in their favor.
I feel like if that was, if that was the 300-meter hurdles, right? Fireball came out and they looked fantastic. They were in their stride. The first execution on that first point was absolutely gorgeous. And then they tripped over every single hurdle the rest of the way to the point where they didn't cross the finish line with any kind of grace and ease. Like, they threw their body over and landed face first. And technically they got over, but man, that did not look pretty.
Let's also remember that the only times that they got any kind of advantage or, actual progress on the point through the thirds is when they got to pick at the start of the fights. And that happened right at the start, and they still didn't manage to get a third off of that.
Yeah.
And the final push where they actually finally capped the point out, that all started from one pick.
I feel like any other team with 6 minutes on the clock could have played the thirds. Easily. Surely.
I mean, that first push again is probably the biggest push that cost Fireball. I mean, the fact that they got it right at the end, I was kind of ready to count them out because they didn't have enough progress. They had not enough progress, in my opinion, to really chip it back out. And not getting the first third in the initial push was kind of what set them behind.
Yeah. Well, This can technically go to a draw now, if I'm not mistaken, if Machi cap it in overtime. We're going to have to see if that comes to pass. Machi do, of course, need to cap in order for that to happen, and ideally want to cap before that even happens at all. But Fireball, they are certainly not out. One thing we've learned, never count out Fireball.
Certainly not if Pudo's in there. Certainly not if Kurloff can land those
Oh,
headshots.
but what if DCR1 dives your backline and kills Kurloff's out? Pudo does answer back, but dude, it is too late, man. He has got no team left. This point is Machi's.
It would seem so, but I mean, yeah, you know, there's even no buts here because everybody else is going down as well. Fireball, they didn't want to let that one go. You almost got to respect them for that, but at the same time, sometimes you do have to bite the bullet and say, there's no way we're bringing this one back. Take your losses, damage control it, get on to the second point. The good news is, Machi don't really have enough ultimates to snowball this one through yet.
Not yet, but at the very least they could try and push for a third. Now themselves with 7 minutes on the clock. Like I said, surely any other team would have been able to play for thirds. Well, now let's see if Machi are a team that can do that.
And they can actually afford to just
Oh, a Pudo!
get one pick.
That's quick sticks there for Kant. Now they're looking to drill down Rocket as well. Getting on top of this point if they can. Machi, like I said, looking to play for thirds.
You might be able to get a little bit more because the ultimate's finally coming online now. They might be able to get a lot of mileage out of this. Nano boost coming up from Kiyomi as well.
They're going to commit to it, but they had just lost No Talk's mech, and Kant has only just respawned, so he's not actually in this fight just yet. But despite all that, that Nano Boost is enough to get kills, and yeah, they are going to play for thirds. Even maybe going to get 2 off. They've got the second third. They've got it secured there. The question is, will they even get more? Because, oh no way, this is gross. Where did Fireball go?
The timing was really great for Machi because here's the thing, I said they don't have enough ultimates to snowball just yet, so they didn't go yet. They waited just a little bit, and that opening kill onto a Pudo was insane because that shouldn't have happened. Defense should have come out for a Pudo, some assistance from teammates from tanks. A Pudo got assassinated by Kant, and that set in motion the events that were just displayed there. And in the middle of all of that, suddenly the ultimate started to come online for Machi as they were pushing on through, and they were just coming out at the right times. Nano boost onto DCR1, just in the front line, denying anybody from Fireball to be able to re-penetrate, and then the sound barrier right at the end means even for the respawning members of Fireball, you can't kill anybody, and despite the reinforcement rate, it's not enough to overwhelm the attackers, and that's pretty much it.
I have seen teams fail to cap that point with more conclusive wipes than what Machi got, and that just goes to show it's not how many members you kill, it's how you kill them and what you use to do it.
It's not the drinking, it's how you're drinking.
It's how you're drinking.
Exactly.
If you... And I tried to do one of those, like, if you drink and drive, you're a bloody idiot. It would be, like, related to Overwatch.
So check
you know what? Couldn't get it.
Well, speaking of relating to Overwatch,
If you nano boost and drive, if you nano boost and die, you're a bloody idiot.
Well, you got 6 minutes and 7 seconds to get 1/3 of the first cap. I don't know about you, but Fireball didn't look too hot on the first defense.
Certainly not. And I mean, if we talk about playing for thirds, well, this is the ultimate of that, right? All they got to do is get a third.
And on the first cap, where DCR1 just assassinated members, and assassinations are beginning.
Right onto it already. Kurlos and Zal's rocket disappears like a mist. Kiyomi is somehow still alive, and already it's looking as good as done for Fireball.
I don't see a way for Fireball to get in. Unfortunately, this is kind of sad. I'm not too. I don't feel good about this. This is not sitting well with me at all.
That is one doused flame after a very tight Lijiang Tower, and then a similarly tight, though not quite as, run on King's Row, which then fell the favor of Machi. They have started to turn the series back around.
And 5 letters in one word does in fact describe Volskaya, and you've already said it, but it was pretty gross. I mean,
Pretty gross.
This has got to be that.
This
that
was,
headshot.
yeah, the right-click headshot. Please let it be, because this was so nuts. Oh, no, it's not. Well, in any case, that was a thing that happened, and it was amazing. I don't know what this was. I remember. Where were you?
Shot as Pepper and Farm. That's all right.
So
That was a headshot right there.
Right at the end. Wasn't quite the one we were talking about where they were on the offense, and he just said, like, charge up the right click, and then all of them hit the head. That was really, that is gross, as we say. So, It's turned back around now. We've kind of swung back the way of Machi, but they are still kind of tight. That one less so, let's be honest, but that was also Machi's pick. Kings Row, I still feel like Machi played it better, and they did, of course, win it, but Fireball did have the makings of a win. And now we are going to be going to straight Escort. So can Fireball actually even this one up and take it to a Game 5?
I want to say the realm of possibility, yes, but at the same time, I really think that if Fireball had secured Kings Row, that would be a much bigger yes from me.
Yeah, just real quick, by the way, so apologies for a little bit of a technical hiccup there. Just to recap for those who did miss it, the very end of that, of course, resulted in Machi picking up that huge 7 minutes to cap the last point. Did so in phenomenally convincing fashion. Great ult cycling and really good patience on the offense as well, and then had, 4 or 5 minutes of overtime to cap just a third of that
6
first one again in the time.
plus.
Yeah, it was a huge amount in that time bank. I mean, it was as good as done once we reached that point, but then of course it did get done, so that is how Machi have evened it up, or not evened it up, they've actually swung it in their favor now. They are one game away from taking out the win. Let's go back to what we were talking about a moment ago, guys. How do they actually close out Escort here if you're Fireball? How do you even the series up?
Well, I mean, Machi, particularly, if you go back to Kings Row, remembering the payload phase to that, on their defense, they definitely just managed to cycle their ultimates a whole lot better. So Fireball need to bring that ultimate economy up to what Machi have been bringing. Also, I want to say Machi have been executing against Fireball's win conditions a lot when it comes to win conditions as well, right? Remember, back on Kings Row, we saw a tactical visor coming out onto a Puda. In fact, it was nano boosted as well. And then that's when Machi say, well, we got to stop that. Can't let that happen. And that happened in several different fights. And also capitalizing on, I've got to say, a lot of mistakes that Fireball were making as well. And it applies to Volskaya, it applies to Kings Row. I think the biggest ones were probably the Transcendence into Self-Destruct. Those were pretty decent mistakes. But if there is one hole that you can breach into the armor of against Machi, is that during their attack on Kings Row, for the payload section, which is going to apply to Escort as well.
Literally all of it.
Yeah. So it was that they weren't recognizing the win condition then for Fireball, which quite often you talk about the Graviton and Self-Destruct combo. They walked into that, 3, 4 times? At that point, you've got to kind of say, maybe we shouldn't stand all together.
So
it is also Kings Row where it's quite narrow. I'll be fair.
It's quite narrow.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Were Machi the team that watched Gibraltar get capped?
Yes.
Where they just, it was the first point of Watch Point Gibraltar, and they had the win, and they had everything ready to go, and then they just kind of stood there like, oh, look at that
and
payload
then jumped
go.
down.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, whoops, and then they capped it, right? The cap went through, and they're like, oh, guys, we gotta commit, we're gonna lose it. It was like one of the most. I mean, I don't like to use the term Clown Fiesta on stream because I think that's disrespectful to the teams, but that one really was like
that moment.
Yeah, that is such a huge mistake. Like, it actually must have been that everyone, like, I don't know, maybe there was like a bird in the stadium and everyone was like, oh, what's going on there? Like, everyone just stopped paying attention to the game for a moment. Like, I don't know what happened there.
In their defense, jumping down like a second earlier to contest the payload,
yeah,
they would have
been fine. They didn't, the thing is, they weren't even shooting their guns, eh? Like, they were just fully watching. So maybe if you're Fireball, you take it to Watch Point Gibraltar and hope they all just have that same issue. Who knows? And actually, I kind of want to. I want to actually bring that up because this is going to be Fireball's pick, guys. Is there anything we feel Fireball can do in terms of these Escort maps? Is there any particular map we feel they could go to that maybe favors them a little more?
I actually think, and we haven't seen a fair amount of this, Route 66 could be a fair option for Fireball. Again, I bring this up in every map draft discussion, is that they love running Winston compositions.
Wacky Fireball.
I know, right? Think about first point on Route 66. Best way to break Big Earls, the servo, is you jump up on the roof and you use that to hide composition. It's called a servo, guys.
It's a service station. Only the Aussies call it a servo.
We got it confirmed on Twitter. They do call it
by Australians, yeah, but that's like one country.
One country. It's a big country, but that's.
You know, it's a big country, the US of A, where they call it a gas station. So you know what? You can take your servo and
look. I'm calling it a servo.
Serve it up. You just got served.
Well, look, the best way to break it though is with big dive
Yeah,
compositions.
you're completely right. Big L compositions.
And you know, Fireball, they're confident in running.
Oh,
those
well, we're not going to
compositions.
talk about Route 66 though.
Yeah, never mind. It's Dorado, so mariachi time.
No servos
Clown
there.
Fiesta.
No servos at all. Absolutely none. What they do have is a church. It's quite nice, and there's a town
It's a
square
courthouse.
with a fountain.
It's a courthouse. Yes.
Well, you can get married in a courthouse.
That's true.
Actually, it's like one shared practice between churches.
It's where
and
you also get
courthouses.
divorced, right? Is that correct or no?
It'd be a bit weird to get divorced in a church, eh? What do you think about
No, a courthouse. Anyway.
Yeah, that is where you get divorced. Well, that is if you actually go to court. You can't just like write the papers.
I actually think this is not a bad map for Fireball either. To be honest, I want to see them run more shield, and I think they got more to prove. I think they got more to say. They have a lot more to show for themselves in terms of where they can take that shield composition, because we have only seen it on defense. How are they going to run it on attack as well? Can they be successful?
On that point, I think if we're going to see it, it's going to be the third point, the third checkpoint when they're on attack, right? A lot of teams do, if they have been running dive, they'll swap over to a shield-based Reinhardt composition when they move into that. Not everyone does that, but it is something that has come up, and if there's a place for Fireball to do it, it's going to be there.
Well, you guys aren't wrong, and you've kind of said it all there. Is there anything else that is worth mentioning for Dorado as far as these two teams go? Let's maybe talk about it from the other perspective. If you're Machi, how do you close this out?
Yeah. So for Dorado, Farah isn't out of the option for the first checkpoint. And in fact, not even out of the option for the second, but most likely you see it on the first. What else really? I think
Ursa.
I think not. I think Soldier's quite heavily favored here, but at the same time I also expect Apudo to be playing the Genji. It's tough because you're running into the problem again where you want Apudo to both be on Genji and Soldier, and you got to pick one. So
it's like how Genji and Hanzo used to be one character. What if it was Genji and Soldier?
Yeah, Dragon.
And like when he ults.
Dragon Visor.
Yeah, Dragon Visor. That's exactly where it comes from, right? When he ults, it shoots swords that don't miss.
That
would be
disgusting.
terrifying. I've got the dragon in my sights.
Gross is the word to describe that.
Gross. Absolutely gross. Well, in any case, this may be the last time you help us break down a game before the fact tonight, Smite. But we may get to see you one more time as well if it is indeed a Fireball win here. But let's see how it goes on Dorado.
Canton Genji is not something we see very often, but Machi are wasting no time. Look at that.
Yeah, straight onto Zalx though. This is odd. Are these guys in skirmish? This looks really disorganized. It does, right? Where you go like right up to the enemy spawn, and then you're like, oh, why are they still in base? There's no one connected. I'm sorry. This was a little bit oddball, but here now Fireball have actually kind of mustered for battle here. Kant gets a triple kill though, so never mind all that. It's all underway.
Fireball completely rooted out. I mean, they're gone. They're not even here on the cap. They're not even here on the first point whatsoever.
I can't figure out where they were actually trying to defend. It's like they decided we're just going to fight 6 1v1s and hopefully win them all.
Oh boy. I don't know. They got to find an opening back in there. Getting the no-nose kill
go.
does sort of put them in. Look
Curl
at the card.
MPB.
It's almost there. Card is just about capped.
This is not where you want to stop this push at all. This is not your defensible position if you are Fireball. And even then, Machi is swinging back anyway.
I think Apudo is getting a decent number of kills here, which will put Fireball back in a defensible position. Gets the last kill, hopefully on DCL1 as well. Yep, picks that one up. So finally Fireball, hey, they get to stabilize, but man, that was, I know we're in Dorado, but
that was bizarre. That was bizarre. What's the Spanish word for clown?
I don't know.
Someone look that up. No, you know what?
Los Protectores.
Look, that's just like the
protectors.
Overwatch. Los Protectores. I don't get it. Get it.
I'd like to see what much you're going to do here. Sorry, not that. It's the Dragon Blade available. Apudo's going to hit his as well. Likely it'll be another Dragon Blade duel.
Oh, there you go. Opening it up already. DCR1 though, he's funnily enough the one's getting the kills. Ins and out. It's only one pulse bomb onto the healer, but Rocket trying to swing back at it now. And messy as it is, this is no payload distance for Fireball. Finally getting a few kills off the back end is Apudo, and they may just hold it there. And the word for clown is payaso. I'd actually just looked that up, but production also did it for me. Or actually, this is a fun fact. If you are in Argentina or Uruguay, you would say payaso. You would say that Y sound as a sh, not a y.
I'll remember that one for future. Thank you.
Just in case you were ever in Argentina.
You know what Machi need to do here is they have to sort of split their attack up a little bit. You have a Tracer, Genji, and a Fire. The Fire should be taking the flank around the right side, and Genji and Tracer should both be flanking different sides as well. Early transcendence being forced out from both teams. Look at that.
Indeed.
Super transcendence.
Nonez is going to just ride this one out and then commit the rocket barrage, goes to ground to do it, and he only finds Zelks before getting traded back onto. That is not how you pull that one off. And now Machi are looking really the worst for wear. Fireball don't exactly have many members out. It's really just NZ and R for DPS, not DPS for NZ and R. Those are the wrong way around acronyms. But he is doing it, and that's all that's really necessary here. The payload, though, is getting swarmed by Machi, and they're looking to keep this fight going.
There's a lot of low members for Fireball as well, and the supports are getting crushed. This could still very much be a push for Machi.
It could, but Apudo is now the one on the payload to try and stop it as NZ and R went down. They're just kind of swapping DPS contesting this payload, and they're, for some reason, all staying alive for long enough to make it work. And now with a Nano Blade combo able to be committed, they find Nonez. Even though they don't find more, they do scatter Machi back for enough time for Fireball to regroup.
Actually, Machi are slowly but surely running out of time. 10
yeah, Pajasto Fiesta.
Where they had an amazing distance gained on the first push, now they can't really, they haven't gotten any more meters since then, and no alternatives to use either. Still got a primal range out of Rocket. I don't see this going for Machi.
Well, yeah, especially when no talk is down straight off the bat. Good target prioritization. But here's Kant and Restia trying to keep it alive. For some reason, Restia is the one doing the damage. And it makes you wonder, where is the DPS for Machi? Where is Kiyomi in these fights? DCL1 desperately needs to get this ult up. They got 9th out of the mech. They might actually be able to do it here at the last moment. Oh, goodness gracious. They are going to do it. And, well... All right, sure, Dorado. Here we go. Let's see more of this.
Welcome
map.
to Dorado, because I don't understand. Machi just lost it in the middle there for so long, and right at the end, it's
after what was the most absurd opening from Fireball. Like, I feel like both teams.
I'm still not over it.
Both teams are just tripping over their own feet. That's what's happening. They aren't beating the other team.
It's not good for dancing.
Who's losing more?
Two dancers with the left feet.
It's so odd. And it's actually still odd. I mean, this isn't even a cleanly committed fight out of both teams. It's just like a bit of a pick at the start, and then they both go, all right. This is like, it's like, what's that Hearthstone card? You know, everyone get in here. Like, that's what they pile on. Like, why not? Right, here we go.
Grim Patron.
Yeah, Grim Patron, that's it. This is Grim Patrons in Dorado. One person goes down, and then the team is like, pile on. And then someone takes damage, and another person jumps in.
Still not a lot of time for Machi. So the fact that they got that into overtime means, unless they got a decent amount of card push off their initial, I guess, momentum play right after the cap, which is not enough looking at where the card is now, especially not if they're currently losing members. If Fireball can clean up this fight, we're going to go into the overtime for Machi's next engagement.
Yeah, and already they're going hunter-killer on the second healer now. Restia out of the picture, barely able to top off Kant before he actually went down, and then that leaves the tanks exposed, so that does stop up Machi.
For the time being, before they come back in with Kant on again, Kant playing Genji, I still got to really look at this, and Kiyomi's just kind of playing everything sort of right now. They actually are either extremely flexible or they're just not sure of who to put on who. It's always very, very interesting. Still no card movement, heading towards the 30-second mark, I should probably say.
Yeah, they got a bit of movement, but they haven't got it past any of the significant defensive hurdles. Here's Kant with the commit. They get Zalf, but they need to get the DPS out. There they go. Get the healers, and they did pick NZ and R, crucially. Rocket able to do just enough work there. Even though they lost NZ and R, they actually get what they need here. Fireball. Oh, man.
Rocket, that was pretty scary because he almost needed to commit Primal Rage. In fact, he will end up having to commit this eventually. There it goes.
Ninja's in full retreat. I mean, in a weird way, Machi just getting the space on the payload here.
Attack Visor used as well from Nonez.
Sure, why not? Here is going to be... Yeah, Rocket had to ult out to try and keep the hopes alive for his own team, as absurd as that sounds, because the payload isn't exactly close to the end yet. Now Apudo Dragon Blading when he didn't have any support and was low. And now Fireball are trickling in. Machi, they only just on this payload as it is, but Fireball are just letting them extend it, like they're giving them a line of credit here. This is absurd.
Fireball have one more flight that they should, if they get there in time.
Nah.
Yeah,
No,
Ninth
they're not
will
doing
get, surely they can get there in time.
Oh, 1.71 meters. I honestly thought they weren't going to for a moment, but Ninth is already down. I mean, Fireball are struggling to trickle into this, but actually you just saw there, if Machi do step onto this for any reason, even if it is to rout Fireball, the overtime runs out. They will actually get the cap, and yeah, this is a disaster for Fireball.
The second time Machi have capped out in overtime now, so it does mean Machi are still not out of the hot water just yet. They have to be able to win a decent number of fights here. Any fight loss will put them severely behind and essentially push them into the overtime once again. And this is, it's always a desperation moment for Machi as soon as they get into that overtime.
They do have the ultimates to snowball though, and they're going to commit to this with a sound barrier. Actually opening out with a Dragon Blade as well. That is a fair bit committed, but it's paying off. They get 2 out and force a Puto back. That is crucial for them. If they get 9th out here, actually, they should be able to get this payload around the corner, and they'll really put Fireball on the rocks here. Still ultimates to commit now, Transcendence, if they so desire, and they're set up to make it work. Unfortunately, they can't get in to support the Winston, but he will just barely get out alive. And Fireball, they're struggling to get out of the base. Machi have set themselves up to do it. That's the Transcendence out to get the extra mileage to make it impossible for Fireball to kill them on the point.
Oh,
what? No. They did it! What was any part of that match?
I mean, at the end there, I almost half expected Machi to just get there. They would have had to trip over so badly over themselves to not make it at the end there. Saving the Transcendence right till the end is almost like watching Volskaya again and just seeing right at the end this last sound barrier come out and knowing Fireball, even if they come out, there's no way they can secure the kills. So
yeah,
Machi severely struggled, I'm going to say, on the first cap. So what they did correctly was they punished Fireball, and they got the initial cart distance only because of what Fireball did, which was super weird to start with. But beyond that, I want to say that perhaps if Fireball didn't start that way, based on the rest of the first cap's performance, it could have been a full hold.
I mean, Fireball then held somewhere that no team by rights should be able to hold. At least not for any extended amount of time. And then they pushed Machi all the way to overtime on that particular point.
Yeah.
And then nearly did the same thing again on the second point. But then suddenly when Machi had it in control, Fireball just kept throwing bodies at the point. Like, they had the space to go, all right, let's regroup and then fight. And they didn't do that. They just went, oh, here you go, Machi. Here's the point. Here's a bunch of ult charge. And then Machi just cycled well. Fireball struggled through that end bit. That was, I'll be honest, it was sloppy execution out of Fireball, even though there was one moment of absolute brilliance on the first point.
I'll tell you where Fireball really tripped up badly is I say that Machi get desperate when they get into overtime. Fireball get a little bit more desperate. That's when they pile on their players a lot harder and unnecessarily. I mean, maybe in the third overtime, we didn't get to a third overtime, but if we did, sure, because you're about to lose the game. But Checkpoint 1, Cap 2, Streets phase, it's just get to the overtime and maybe consider not throwing yourselves onto there and securing a decent, stabilized hold on the next cap. I mean, you can do that because, by the way, Machi is so severely in overtime, even when they cap, they're one minute 40. That is easily defensible, especially on the third cap where, guess what, you're also favored because you're defending.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like that was all kinds of winnable for Fireball at every juncture there.
You know where I said, like, oh, you know, Machi about to cap on the second, and I said, hey, look, Fireball can actually still defend this. I say that in a way like they can, but really they shouldn't, because when they did, they threw all the ultimates on there, they threw all the bodies, they fed ultimates onto Machi, and had they not have fed the ultimates and blown the ultimates themselves, they would have had those defensive ultimates to then stabilize on the third cap while also preventing Machi from snowballing themselves.
Yeah, like I said, it's here, have the point and the ultimate economy, you know, and then also the advantage. Like, it's not just giving them the ultimate, it's using your own and giving them ultimate advantage, because that's the only thing that can get you all the way to that third point normally, because of that defender's advantage, because you've only got time for one good push. And yeah, like, Fireball gave Machi enough rope to hang Fireball with.
Pretty much.
Morbid as that is. Well, now let's see
have a cake, Machi, and feel free to eat it too.
The two teams have bought enough balloons and piñatas to keep the Clown Fiesta going. I'm having fun. I don't know about you. What?
It's like
oh my god, they're already set up in the same harebrained way as Fireball were, so maybe
Yeah,
they can't
well,
be
I'd
as
like to
continue.
see. I'd like to see if Machi can maybe do what Fireball could. So far, it does not looking pretty. It is not looking
What
pretty.
is going on
For
here?
either team, really.
Well, yeah, for either team, because actually now with 9th going down, for some reason it's working for Machi where it didn't for Fireball, even though Fireball came out of the gate swinging and did everything right.
I mean, so far this is a bit of a delay, and that's fine. Eventually Fireball will have to get out here because every kill Fireball gets is worth so much more than a kill that Machi gets due to respawn distances. So Fireball have to eventually get this. They're just so favored.
Surely, yeah.
They're so favored reinforcement-wise. They just have to get this.
Well, I mean, even just with everyone on the high ground here for Machi, eventually Fireball can just go, all right, well, we'll stand on the payload, and eventually you're going to have to commit to it. But Rocket going down here, this is the opening again for Machi to commit to the low ground fight. Aputo trying to go deep, just kind of leaves his team in the dust and doesn't get enough for it to have been worthwhile. If Souths goes back on the end of this, yeah, that's staggered respawns. It's not too major, but I mean, it is time being run down, and they are a long way from capping.
Yeah, so I think what Machi doing well here is buying a lot of time for themselves, but they have to be careful because at any stage if Fireball come out strongly, particularly once the ultimates come out, they can snowball Machi exceptionally hard.
But here we go, now Aputo opening it out with the Dragon Blade. They want to get some serious distance here, but they forgot to actually play for the payload as a Tracer just kind of runs circles around them. Now it's finally underway. Now that Fireball's ultimates have all run out, right? The Dragon Blade and now the Primal Rage as well. Kurlos is finally going to get a Transcendence off, but Machi are the one with all the tools, and they are more than willing to commit to this fight with the payload having not moved an inch.
It's a lot of delay time. Machi are essentially running the clock down to now half a Fireball. And I still don't know, aside from a Dragon Blade, which to be honest didn't get a lot of work done for Fireball, which unfortunately plagues Aputo a bit as a player. Sometimes he's the guy that will get 4 kills, other times he gets kind of nothing. This is even a flank from NZNR that I'm trying to understand. I get this. He's going to go around back.
Looking to get the healers, but they're already not there. They've kind of gone through to this bridgeway instead. This is a good commit out of Fireball, though, as they try to route Machi. Going to throw in
What
the
was
sound
that?
barriers. Okay, no one is there. No one at all. He just wants to destroy the architecture. What a heartless guy. No love for art. But now the commitment onto DCR1 here. I don't like him holding on the payload, but what's done is done, and Fireball do finally get it underway. Despite NZNR kind of whiffing the ultimate, they did actually position well. Like, that whiffed ultimate didn't matter at all because they had caught Machi in an awkward spot.
Yeah, so this is where now Fireball need to take really good positioning, deny defensive positionings for Machi.
Be a lot easier if they had a rocket barrage.
Yeah, probably. And Fireball can actually get a lot of distance off this because Machi, they have to regroup for this. Now they will finally get the strike for the defense, but they burn down the clock enough that if Machi win this defense, we're going straight to overtime.
Yeah, that we absolutely would be. And Machi had the tools to do it. Kant goes wide with the pulse bomb, though, and that's not a great way to start. Restia is really getting pressured down, and no talk, no transcendence yet. Finally comes up, but he's already lost to Kiyomi, and now Nonez as well as he throws out the transcendence. Fireball, though, they've lost an equal number of members, and Machi have lasted past the Dragon Blades. They are going to repel this attack. Barely.
Yeah, barely. So it is now roughly about 20 seconds. No ults for anybody. Caught in a good enough position to reach in for overtime, and still a good enough position then to finalize the cap should Fireball win. But Fireball, I don't know. This is the struggle. I'm not convinced by their performance so far.
Never underestimate the Clown Fiesta as Rocket ults far too early, but they're already going to kill DCR1. Restia opening up with the tactical visor, isn't finding anything. And Aputo, without any ultimates to go on here, is just pressuring everyone off to the side. Restia just goes into full retreat, and they're a meter and a bit away from capping. Maybe they will just do it. The sound barrier isn't enough to save Aputo, but it's got the rest of the team healthy.
Oh boy.
And yeah, never underestimate the Clown Fiesta. Thank you very much, Avril. And it's worked.
Well, you know what? This is exactly what Machi did to Fireball.
Yeah.
Not exactly, but in terms of the result, a cap into overtime. Now Fireball, in the same overtime position that Machi were in, they got to be able to use this timing to, again, like this taking the high ground here is really important for them.
Oh man, welcome to Whose Overwatch Is It Anyway, the game where the points are made up and the ultimates don't matter.
It's hard to...
You can't make predictions about this game because no matter what you say, it's going to be Rock. This isn't even a fight. Don't be deceived. This is.
Oh boy, Fireball is saving. They are saving ults here, which you know the silver lining is that Machi are spending, Fireball is saving, which means economically they do come out ahead.
The only thing is it is going to drive up inflation as time goes by. Cant going down will be the first victim to that as the bread lines grow longer. The payload is underway.
Get your food stamps out because here we go, Fireball finally.
The poverty-stricken areas of Dorado are really feeling the heat of this ultimate economy from Fireball. The foreign buyers are in.
They have enough to get themselves through it. Transcendence to block out the Dragon Blade. They actually Machi have pretty much the exact same thing, but Fireball currently have a bit of momentum on their side. It will be Machi having. Wow, that's super early.
That is really
from both sides.
They saw Apudo dive in and got nervous, but now that Transcendence has run out, so now Apudo can actually open up with his first. Oh no, but he missed the second healer. He didn't get anything for it. When diving after the first, missed the leap to the second, and now Machi are in a position to counterattack. Cant needs to get a sick pulse bomb though, and Fireball with that sound barrier running are actually keeping themselves healthy enough as DCR1 trying to continue the assault. Rocket is the one getting the healers though, and DCR1 goes down on the retreat, so Fireball should be able to get themselves underway again. Ultimate out from Rocket, just to get more mileage, and Restia cleaning up the last few members of Machi hovering around this payload. Oh, Rest and Pepperoni's Restia, and they should have capped it. There we go, Fireball finally coming through again. Few extra seconds bought by NZ, sorry, Cant rather, but not quite going to stop it up.
I mean, they are delaying for a very long time as we head into now overtime, but Machi are losing a lot more members so far than Fireball. This Primal Rage gives additional ult charge because it's 1,000 HP worth of ult charge if Fireball can push on through. But so far, I don't know. The card is completely still.
Nap time for NZNR, actually. That's a little unfortunate for Fireball.
He can have a rest,
they've still got enough to kind of keep this one going, surely. DCR1 with this ultimate, the nano boost on him, and he's getting topped off as well, so he's busy pressuring out the Lucio off the back end of this, but the sound barrier comes out, so that entire thing just gets negated. DCR1 finds himself too deep, has to go into retreat, but he wants to keep on the pressure as well. Rocket does go down, they find Zalx, and they're finally finding a window as known as opens with the Dragon Blade, but he's back to old habits, he's straight onto the Diva. Nice does go down.
Oh my god.
It does go down, thankfully, and there is no Apudo to pull a miracle out. So Machi, they do close it out, but no one deserves to win that.
What can I tell you? Nunez has got a thing for Divas.
He does. There was a couple of weeks ago now, and we absolutely blasted the guy for always going to the Diva. Like, we actually sat here and laughed at him. And then he fixed his problems, and we were like, yeah, good job, Nunez, good job. And we golf clapped, and we became mature adults about the whole thing, but naturally, in the most clown fiesta game we have seen all tournament, that's when he goes back to it. That's when he goes back to, oh, maybe I should throw it at the Diva and no one else. And luckily the rest of his team was like, oh, Nunez, you numpty, while they were actually doing the work and cleaning up the fight. I'll tell you what, they didn't watch the cart just cap, they actually defended. So that's a plus. That is a plus for Machi. They are moving in the correct direction. Which is fine, it's an improvement. All right.
And I gotta say, this series has been, although a small improvement, an improvement for Fireball also.
It actually has been. So
gotta give that to them.
I want to start slowly unpacking and breaking this one down, and it's gonna be a bit tricky because it was a very odd match. I mean, look, guys, Dorado aside, that was an odd match. That was not resounding either way. I expected it, if it was going to be hard fought, to be a Fireball win or a blowout Machi win, but not a hard fought Machi win. And even though they looked like the better team at pretty much every juncture, we do still have to say it was hard fought. It was not a blowout at all, even though they are a better team. So when we contextualize this back in the tournament as a whole, where we're talking about how Fireball are at risk of dropping out the bottom end of this, and Machi are at risk of not picking up enough wins to break into the top 3, I don't think this series actually bodes well for either team.
I actually am quite excited to now see how Fireball shape up against Hong Kong Attitude, who are kind of the team caught in the middle of that struggle. And if Fireball can have a semi-favorable performance against Machi, who do beat Hong Kong Attitude, then suddenly we might have a very close game between Hong Kong Attitude and Fireball.
The problem for both teams in this with the result of this matchup, right, is for Fireball, clearly that just means it's much harder for them to break into the top 3, if that's even at all possible. But for Machi, we talked about how they had to improve from the 2nd to 3rd round robin at best. I feel like they've remained the same after watching that series. I don't feel like there's been any significant improvement, and sure, it's only their very first match of the 3rd round robin, but at this point, I think, yeah, reasonably, they could take it to Hong Kong Attitude, sure, but they are still being kicked out of that top 3 club.
And I suppose, the question is, can Machi really push that? I mean, what evidence is there even to say that they can, aside from their beating of Flash Wolves previously? So to kind of recap the night, the first 2 matches were the end of that 2nd round robin. Of course, Detonator did pick up a win against Sun Sister, and then Blank also picking up a win against Sun Sister to tie themselves for first, and then immediately lose that tie to AHQ in what was a very hard 3-0 to watch, I'll be honest. But a fantastic game for AHQ, very well played and well deserved. And then just now we have seen, of course, Machi taking out Fireball in what was our 2nd match of the 3rd round robin, and I feel like these are the 2 markers of where the pools sit. We know what the top end looks like, and we know what the bottom end looks like. And the question is, what is going to happen in the middle now? As you can see the standings on your screens, Machi, they do pick up a win, and they do push closer to that top 3. But unless they can beat Flash Wolves a 2nd time, I don't know that they can break into it. And now still questions hovering around Fireball, as they have yet to really open some distance between them and the 2 Japanese teams.
Speaking of distance, Nachi officially claimed that top 4 spot now. They officially grabbed the 4th place. So, I mean, this is a milestone for Machi, whichever way you cut it.
Who
and they
were
are moving up.
3rd from bottom at one point in this
Yes,
tournament.
correct.
So, and that's what we said about the 2nd round robin, was that at least within that middle ground, it was a redemption arc, if you will. It was a redemption story for Machi, and also for Hong Kong Attitude. It raised a lot of questions about their ability to break into top 3, where after that going to game 5 against Blank, we thought that actually maybe they would be a team to do it. So now we're looking at a very different tournament on the whole, and now also with Blank picking up recent losses. Guys, where is this round robin going?
Well, we're still currently in the situation where we do have the 3 separate tiers, with the 2 Japanese teams rounding out the bottom of the table in their own kind of tier. Then that middle tier, which Machi is sitting at the top of, right? But they are still 3 wins away from breaking into the next tier, which is the top 3. There's still very clear-cut differences between those those tiers, all 3 of them, right? But the important one is going from the 4th place to the 3rd place, and with the distance that Machi has to go, they absolutely have to start taking games, and maybe not even just one game, but start taking multiple games off the members of the top 3 if they want to break into that club, break into the playoffs.
Yeah, let's be clear. They have to beat Hong Kong Attitude, and then they also have to beat Flash Wolves again. They did do it once before, but I don't know if they can really do it the 2nd time. And that's not even considering where Blank sit in that top 3.
I think during the next 2 round robins, they have to take off 2 games out of the top 3 teams. Doesn't matter which ones, but they need to do that twice.
Player of the game goes to the headshot master himself, Kiyomi, on that Zenyatta. Well deserved, I would say. It's not every man who can throw a metal orb at someone's head.
5 at once.
5 at once, exactly. The whole shebang. But it's like a 20 ammo clip, so I don't know how that works.
Where does he hide the other 15?
Yeah, that is some really odd math on Zenyatta.
I think he kind of summons them through.
It's like each
through the
ball
iris.
is like 4 balls worth. It's just a more dense metal. I don't know.
I'm not too sure.
I cannot figure this one out.
Nothing
Jeff,
about
Jeff,
the
please fix
pool
your math.
in Overwatch makes sense to me, including the Omnics that live there.
Yeah,
so.
the Onyx. How do they float? That's what I've always wanted to know. Like, do they just have like some jetpack thing in their bum?
So to sort of speak to, you asked earlier, where is this 3rd round robin going? I think the big questions will be, A, can Machi repeat their performance against Flash Wolves, which is looking kind of like a no, but it will be answered anyway. And then for Flash Wolves, was their 3-0 against Blank a fluke? Can they repeat that? Because AHQ, there was also a question, did they fluke out Blank? Turns out no, they are currently just a step ahead of Blank. Now, Flash Wolves, if they want to be a step ahead, because by the way, they lost to AHQ, so AHQ right now do just look like the best team. And Flash Wolves, they did beat Blank, but they haven't beaten AHQ yet, and they got to come back and do that.
And I suppose if you are either Machi or Hong Kong Attitude, who were up until very recently tied for 4th place, your only ticket into that top 3 really is beating the other, beating Flash Wolves, and then Flash Wolves losing to Blank, right? That's the only way that, at least in this round robin, Flash Wolves' score drops low enough and yours lifts high enough for you to be within striking distance of that top 3. And forgive me if my math is wrong, but I think even in that situation, they wouldn't actually break into the top 3 just yet. They would have only earned themselves the opportunity to do it in the final round robin, which is a really, really tough plan to execute on, right? Because that is a lot of matches over a long period of time.
I mean, like I said, it applies to Hong Kong Attitude as well. They have to take out at least 2 of the 3 games against those top 3 teams, and they need to do that in not just this round robin, but the 4th one as well if they want to pull ahead. And I mean, sure, we can create scenarios where one of those top 3 teams, I guess Flash Wolves, because they're sitting on the lower points, do drop games to maybe Machi again. I mean, maybe Fireball.
Maybe.
Who knows? Who knows in this tournament right now? But that's a situation where one of them could pull ahead. But the reliable way is that they really do need to beat. They have to have that situation. 2 out of 3 teams twice in a row.
You just need to beat like the whole top 3 teams. And we can only really say this in relevance to Flash Wolves. It's not just because they are quote unquote the lowest in the standings. It's because they are the only one who any of those other teams have any record of beating, and that's been Machi.
Actually, at the same time as well, this is now the 3rd round robin where I still think it's kind of unclear. I know AHQ currently still on the top, but can Flash Wolves once again? I really want to see the AHQ versus Flash Wolves.
They've beaten them before on day 1.
Exactly. So in terms of a record, that record is 1-1. The record between Blank is currently kind of settled at 2-1. But the record between Flash Wolves and AHQ is still unsure about that one. Someone could still come out on top. And the thing is, what we could also see is between the top 3 teams, a sort of triangle effect going on where one team will beat another team that beats another team, that then, you know, it goes in a bit of a circle.
And then Machi beats one of them.
Yeah, and it's almost like there is this 3-man boxing match happen, and they are trading blow for blow, and then the rest of the teams are trying to like scrap their way to get onto the ring. The moment someone gets a little bit close, one of them just like casually kicks out a huge kick and they get scattered off. So let's jump into this interview now with the winning team, Machi.
And that's Kiyomi
掌声
from
欢迎他。其实
M17.
Kiyomi 现在非常的紧张，但是呢，今天有很多你重要的来宾来到了现场，我们来欢迎 Kiyomi 的爸爸来到我们的舞台上，欢迎欢迎欢迎！哇，非常的难得有选手的家长来到我们电竞比赛的现场，爸爸是也跟大家打声招呼。
大家好。
想要访问一下
他的老爸，
想问一下爸爸，就是说，
Happy Father's Day.
平常的话你会看他打比赛吗？
平常哦。
对对，平常会透过什么管道？
平常在家我是没在看的，但是自从他开始参加这个的时候，他每一场我就会准时看。
每一场都会准时看。
I used to not watch his matches before, but ever since he started playing OPC, I've watched every single one.
跟大家分享一下。一开始的时候到现在。
其实一开始我没有反对。
就没有反对。
没有反对，因为我觉得趁他年轻就去做他喜欢做的事情。就是这样。
We actually had no problems with him competing professionally.
开心就好。那 Kiyomi 是也跟大家分享一下，怎么会想要成为职业电竞选手呢？
因为从以前就很爱玩电玩游戏啊，然后比较常接触的是射击游戏，然后后来接触到这一款多人特工，就是觉得比较有机会，可能可以加入职业。
How did you get into pro gaming? He says he's always been quite fond of playing games,
下那个心力去练习这个游戏。
After sort of joining up with Machi, he found a really good opportunity to
平常
really start his career.
放学回家就一直玩，一直玩。
就一直玩，那爸爸会就是阻止他，就说不要玩太久啊，然后要记得休息着。训练其实也还蛮累的。
很想骂，但是说不听。
说不定，但其实态度是支持的啦。
平常如果以他平常在家玩游戏的话，只有8个字可以形容。
8个字。
对，那个废寝忘食，还有足不出户。
废寝忘食，足不出户，有这样子吗 ？Kiyomi？
差不多。
差不多，太认真，太投入了，对不对？
那个半夜2、3点还会听到一个人在那边鬼吼。
一个人鬼吼，
The father actually says he is concerned about the amount of time he's practicing, but it's, you know,
哦，好
It's
啦，再
difficult
一
to
次恭喜
pull them away.
Kiyomi 获得我们这场比赛的
Often finds
MVP，
him
恭喜
still
恭喜，
playing
也
at
谢谢
roughly 2
Kiyomi
to
的爸爸
3
来到我们
a.m.
比赛的现场。
practicing with his
那
team
这个
and
礼拜的精彩比赛呢，就在这边
obviously
告一段
understands
落
how
了。下个
important
礼
it
拜的
is
比
to
赛一样会
Kiyomi. So
在
that
礼拜五的晚
is
上7
Kiyomi
点
from
准时
Machi
开打
and his。
但
father
是先别急着
round
走
out the
开哦，美好的周末尾声当然是要有我们的。
Oh, something a little bit different.
Yeah, not every day your parent shows up on there as well. So
It is good to see that it's more of a universally accepted thing now that you can play for a professional video games team and have your parents accept it, have them eventually come around to it. So it's great to see that he's got the support of his parents.
at least one.
At least one. I can
At least one.
I can assume the other.
Like, that's like the statistician in you, like, at least one parent supports his child.
That we're aware of.
Well, actually, we didn't see his back, so we know that at least one half of one parent supports his child. I don't know, there's like a joke about a Scotsman on a train about that. But anyway, well, gentlemen, that kind of was that. I mean, there's a lot and also very little to say about that Machi and Fireball matchup. I mean, the result does speak for itself in that Machi have picked up a needed win, and in the raw numbers, we said both teams were desperate for more wins in that matchup, but in terms of what it actually means, in terms of the performance, I don't really know if that is a positive for either team.
Look, results-wise, fantastic for Machi. Clearly they got the win and it keeps them up on the rise through the ladder. I mean, they actually moved up to 4th place. But as you said, performance-wise, I still do not feel that they can take it to any team in the top 3. Even the Flash Wolves that they have beaten on Volskaya Industries, I don't think they can do it again.
They need to remove the red nose and white makeup first.
That's rude.
I got it. I got the joke, but I'm not gonna.
I'm not gonna acknowledge that. No, completely fair. But yourself, AVRL, do you have any particular closing thoughts after this night, having now seen what is the beginning of this third round?
Yeah, I would really like to see how Blank sort of pick themselves up again. They have one more big test throughout the third round robin, which is going to be against Flash Wolves. And of course, for Flash Wolves, it is about determining how much of a dominance they have against Blank. Can they keep that going? And what are they going to do against AHQ as well?
All right, well, there we go. All that and more, of course, as this third of 4 round robins continues onward. We are over the hill, as it were, past the halfway mark, but there is still a long stretch ahead of us until we approach playoffs. But that is that for us tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. And once again, from all of us here at the Full Circle production team, thank you very much for watching and have a wonderful night.